Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you going to miss? He struck him up.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Kev Nash back with us here in studio today. Kev,
what up?
All you do is take off.
I know, right? Like, I'm a loser.
I'm trying to do a show.
How'd it go yesterday?
Solo. No one here to keep me quiet. No one here to restrict my aggressive opinions on things. But I'm still employed. I know. Damn it, right? People like, damn it. So, but
well, the listeners can tell me how it really went.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Again, happy Thursday. Week 5 of the NFL season officially kicks off tonight. Make sure you get your picks submitted at wingam.com.
Thank you for the reminder.
Pro Football Pick'em contest at wingam.com, presented by Frickers. $25 in Frickers Bucks awarded to the weekly round winners. And 2 of our first 4 winners have come and picked theirs up. We still need the other 2 to come pick their $25 in Frickers, which is fine because that just goes to, we use that surplus to help pay us. I mean, right? No, I'm joking, but nonetheless.
We get paid in candy.
Oh, speaking of that, yeah, candy. I keep forgetting it's October 7th, Halloween coming up around the corner. And, I already know what I'm doing for Halloween, I think.
What you doing?
I can't tell you. It's going to be on the show. We did I was Mario last year. I was Fat Mario.
Yes.
I'm less Fat Mario this year.
Luigi.
There we go. I still have the hat and everything. I had the weird, creepy mustache going last year and everything. Yeah, there you go.
Passing out candy at the house?
No, I never do that. I don't like people. I just don't. The dogs go crazy. Not crazy about a bunch of screaming kids coming at my door.
Right.
There's plenty of houses on the block that'll provide them their cavity bars. I mean, come on now.
So the wife and I are thinking about passing out candy for the first time. We've been living in our house for 6 years and we still never passed out candy and everything like that. But she said we should get a slingshot.
That'll keep the kids away. Maybe we'll get a slingshot. What the hell you mean a slingshot?
Slingshot it to them from the porch because she don't want people getting close to the house. I was like, you obviously want to get
hold out your bag. Actually, that'd be kind of fun though. Tell them to hold open their bag or hold out their bucket and just try to make it in the bucket. I'd be flipping cupcakes at them. Actually, I might do. We're gonna have some fun with this one.
I'm rubbing off on her in a bad way.
There you go. But again, it's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Doug Toby says he's going to dress up as Jamar Chase. Okay,
touchdown.
I'll try, but I'll probably drop the ball on that one.
Regular season, not preseason, right?
And not preseason Jamar Chase. Regular season Jamar Chase.
You walk around with glue sticks on your hands during the regular season. You walk around with bricks on your hands during the preseason.
Shaw put the pill emojis in the chat, so there's that.
We starting out early.
Start out very early. All right, lots to get into today. So injuries are going to really be the headline for both the Browns and the Bengals games and matchups this coming up weekend. Of course, the Bengals have a huge matchup with the Green Bay Packers. The Cleveland Browns have arguably the hottest team in football right now in the Chargers. So it's going to be a fun week of football for both Browns and Bengals fans. Can't wait to come back on Monday and talk all that smack after the Browns beat the Chargers, and then of course the Bengals lose to the Packers. They get put back in their place a little bit, But the last 3 wins they've all combined for 2 wins. I mean, come on now. I've been too nice this week, and it's it's backing up in me a little bit. So there you go. But I want to open up talking a little college football because, Kev, I talked some college football yesterday when you weren't here, and I figure it's not fair to you to talk college football when you're not here. So I want to talk about that now. Had some interesting conversations with some of the listeners yesterday who had called in, and we were just talking about some of the bigger matchups this coming up weekend. I mean, the biggest one comes out of the Big Ten. You have Iowa and Penn State, 3 versus 4, from a conference that everyone says it's Ohio State and nobody else. Well, to be fair, when people say that has been the case for a while now. I love when we have a situation in sports where there's when a narrative builds, it's usually for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Ten has not been very good for a while. This is the best and the deepest that the Big Ten has been in what, Kev? I mean, I can't tell you the last time it was this good, at least at this point of the season. You know, we could look back and we can, fast forward a month from now. We might say, okay, maybe the conference isn't as good as we thought.
Right.
But as of right now, they're holding their own. Look how many programs are in the top 10 and the top 12. We don't ever say top 12, but I mean, look at all the Big Ten representation up at the top. The point is I hate when people get so sensitive about narratives that usually exist for a reason. So I keep seeing a lot of people on social media that keep doing this. Oh, I thought that the Big Ten was no good. Well, I'm not saying that they're no good, but they haven't been very competitive outside of Ohio State for quite a few years now. That's not a shot at the Big Ten. Sometimes it's not even opinions. It's sometimes reality. And that's the case this year. Speaking of Jamar Chase, Kev, I do talk a lot about the Cincinnati Bengals, and a lot of times Bengals fans don't like what I have to say, but it drives me. The narrative of Jamar Chase not being able to catch a football, that wasn't just made up.
Mm-hmm.
That narrative didn't exist when he was drafted by the Bengals. Nobody ever said, why would you draft him? He can't catch a football. You know why that narrative existed? It's because he wasn't catching footballs. He was dropping them. So that's why when weirdo Joe Burrow and the social media team and all that, and they keep posting, oh, I thought Jamar Chase couldn't catch a football. He wasn't. He was dropping a lot. That's why people were like, hey, maybe you should catch those. And then he caught him, and now everyone's like, man, he's so great, because that's how life works. It's about who you are and what you're doing at that exact moment. That's why I hate when people say, well, it's kind of hard to have an opinion on something now. We just need to wait and sit back and let it all play out. Well, then we will do the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash once every 6 months so that we can recap the previous 6 months and only have opinions on what's happened and not give any kind of opinion on what we think is going to happen. Life doesn't work that way, and this show definitely doesn't work that way. So when it comes to the Big Ten, they are having a very, very hot start to the season. Big matchup this weekend, Iowa, Penn State. One caller asked yesterday, is this an elimination game for either team? And before I give my answer, because I gave it yesterday, I'm curious your thoughts. Remember, Penn State, they at least have that huge win against Auburn. They have a chance to, still play Ohio State coming up. Iowa, they haven't played anybody in their non-conference. They did play Iowa State. They did beat Iowa State. Just that win doesn't look as sexy now. But they have nobody the rest of the way moving forward. They don't have any significant program that they're going to be able to look at and say, oh man, that's going to strengthen our resume. Is this an elimination game for both teams? One team, can both teams afford to lose this weekend and still be in the playoff picture moving forward? How big of a game is this Iowa-Penn State game for Ohio State this coming up weekend?
This is a big game for both teams, but I think they both can. No, this is a bigger game for Iowa, because of the side of the Big Ten that they play on. The side that Penn State plays on has your Ohio States, has Michigan, who's playing good football right now, who has Michigan State, who is also playing good football right now. So if they lose, there'll be one loss, but they still have plenty of opportunities against other ranked opponents to, build those brownie points back up, and then have another opportunity, if they run the table on their side of the Big Ten, to play in the Big Ten championship game for a potential rematch with Iowa if they end up losing this. From the Iowa standpoint, they're blowing everybody out, which is great. That's what you want to do. You want to go in there, handle your business. I mean, they're intercepting the ball left and right. Like, I don't know what type of defensive scheme that they're running out there, but they're interceptions left and right, and I love it.
And they don't need no damn turnover chain either.
Yeah. They celebrate on the sidelines. They celebrate on the field with their teammates, and they're just playing some great football. Salute to them. But you brought it up. Like, they only had one real tough out of conference matchup, and that was versus Iowa State, who is starting to not even be a rival for them anymore. They're just a rival on paper because they're handling them as left and right. So you look at that. So you want to make sure in their case that they get this win, because you don't want any hiccups down the back end of the schedule, because we know this is college football. Crazy things happen at night games. Crazy things happen when you go on the road in conference. So you definitely want to take care of business versus a top-ranked Penn State team. But in the case of Penn State, not that you want to lose this game, but you do have a little bit of wiggle room, because you do have Ohio State at the end of the month. You do still have a game versus Michigan State. You still have games versus Michigan as well. So you have those other games to bounce you back up into the conference race.
So when you look at this matchup again, Penn State, Iowa, number 3, Iowa welcoming in number 4, Penn State. This is why it's even bigger for Penn State, because you get a win at number 3, Iowa, you're getting a win at number 3 on the road.
Yeah.
So I think it's equally big for both, because it's a playoff game, and I talked about this on yesterday's show. At the end of the day, it really comes down to, people keep talking about a 16 playoff, an 18 playoff, this crazy idea of a 12-team playoff. We're getting a lot of playoff games, and we've already had quite a few. Penn State Auburn was a playoff game, okay? Like Ohio State Oregon was a playoff game. This game this weekend is a playoff game between Penn State and Iowa. And you could say every week's a playoff game, because if you lose, your season's pretty much done. But this is big picture playoff positioning right here, because remember, the playoff is not about the 4 best teams. It's about the 4 best resumes, which is why we talk so much about Cincinnati and how not being undefeated with the conference championship just doesn't open the door for you to make the playoff. If that's the case, then we can argue about the MAC champion and some of the other smaller conferences. But you look at this matchup with Purdue and Iowa, or with Purdue. Sorry, I was looking at Purdue's logo here. Iowa and Penn State. I think it's an elimination game for Iowa if they lose only. I think if Iowa loses, they lose to Penn State, they're going to drop, and because of the schedule moving forward, they're not going to be able to move back up. So Iowa can lose to Penn State at home. They'll drop, let's say they drop to 8 or 7, and then they win out the rest of the way into the Big Ten championship game. They're never going to move back into that top 4 spot because of this loss, and because they will not have any win of substance moving forward. So if they lose this Saturday, I'm not saying it's 1,000,000% sure they will not make it, but the history of the playoff has told us, no, they're not going to make it. The resume is not strong enough for them to come back from to lose. Penn State's a little bit of a different story. For one, it's Iowa's lack of a strong schedule moving forward and lack of a playoff caliber resume beforehand. But good for them for being number 3. Like it's pretty cool seeing how many top Big Ten teams there are at the top of the national rankings and not just the Big Ten standings. So as far as Penn State's concerned, you already have that big win over Auburn at home. That gives you that wiggle room there to maybe be able to afford a loss on the road at number 3, Iowa, because then Penn State could turn around and potentially beat Ohio State, which would then knock Ohio State out of the Big Ten championship game, which would then put Penn State in the Big Ten championship game, where they would then most likely have a rematch with Iowa. And if Penn State beats Iowa in the Big Ten title game, they will be forgiven for the loss at Iowa this coming up weekend if it happens. I think Penn State can lose this Saturday and still make the playoff, is my whole point, because they have Ohio State, because they have Michigan State, and they have some tough opponents coming up. Iowa doesn't have that. So yes, this is a playoff game. It's an elimination game for Iowa. It's win or watch the playoffs from home. Penn State, they win, they're still in the playoff picture. They lose, very similar to Ohio State, still in the playoff picture as well.
I think for Iowa, if you lose, you become kind of UC. You got to start hoping things fall your way. You got to start hoping, more importantly, that Penn State runs the table and goes back to the Big Ten championship game and you get a rematch versus them. Or Michigan runs the table and you get a undefeated Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. If you play an undefeated team in the Big Ten championship game and you're Iowa and you win, you're in. But you don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be in the position of handling your own business, then turning on the TV, rooting for Penn State to win or rooting for Michigan to win. You just want to make sure you handle your business and you don't have anything to worry about. You don't want to be in the world of the UCs and the UCFs and the Memphises and Houstons. You don't want to deal with none of that. You just want to handle your business. So I still think there's a pathway for that to happen, but the likelihood of that happening is not likely because obviously Michigan and Penn State still play each other. That's a tough matchup for both teams. Penn State still has to play Ohio State. Michigan still has to play Ohio State. So the likelihood of all those teams, or the likelihood of one of those teams going all the way undefeated to the Big Ten championship game, I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's going to be whoever comes out of the Big Ten side of the East is going to have one loss. Maybe not in Ohio State's case, maybe not a conference loss, yeah, but it'll have a loss on their resume. I think that's going to happen. I think the winner of the Big Ten, somebody's going to have a loss on their resume already.
All right, so we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. Like and follow along. You could watch the show live. And if you're watching the show live now on Facebook or YouTube, we appreciate that. Take a look. Here is the college football playoff picture, or at least the teams and the games of interest as we head into this week of big games right now. The Pac-12, in my opinion, the Pac-12 and the ACC, they don't have a college football playoff team in the mix as we currently sit here right now. The Big 12 has Oklahoma. They have a huge showdown with Texas is coming up weekend. The Big 10 has Iowa and Penn State. I'd put them kind of as one because, like I said, I think it's going to come down to either of those teams out of the winner of that matchup this weekend. And then Ohio State and Michigan. I was reluctant to put Michigan in there, but they are undefeated. And I think that every time they win, they're starting to get more and more notoriety from that committee. And I think that's what's going to end up happening is they'll continue to climb up that board. And then Alabama and Georgia. We're only talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. Last week, I had 10 teams, Kev. Last week, 10 teams were on this list because Notre Dame lost and some teams lost. Obviously, Oregon lost as well. And those two teams are eliminated. The Big 12 conference was, or the Pac-12 conference was eliminated as well as the ACC with Clemson's second loss. It's down to 8, but the big games this weekend, Georgia at Auburn. Not a big game. I mean, it's a big game for Auburn. Yes, you want to win at home with number 2 Georgia in town, but Georgia needs another playoff resume win, and they'll get that opportunity at number 18, Auburn. Oklahoma and Texas, big rivalry game there. Oklahoma beats Texas. That's another feather in their cap for their playoff resume. But if Texas wins, the Pac-12's eliminated, the ACC's eliminated. If Oklahoma loses, we could potentially see the Big 12 eliminated as well, which would then set up 2 teams from the Big 10, 2 teams from the SEC, or 2 from one conference, 1 from the other, and possibly the Cincinnati Bearcats. You look at those teams, Kev, do you agree or disagree? Are these really the only realistic teams remaining in the playoff picture? Again, 2 or 3 of these teams lose, all of a sudden the door opens up because by one of these, 2 or 3 of these teams getting one loss, it now opens the door for maybe a one-loss Oregon to get back in the conversation. Maybe if Oklahoma loses to Texas, Oklahoma gets back in the conversation. But as of right now, with the way the landscape is unfolded right now, I think that these are the teams right now that are the only teams that realistically have a shot at the playoff. That could change, though, obviously, as the season goes along.
I don't think not Iowa. I don't think that Oregon's done. I think Oregon still has that biggest win. I think they still have the biggest win out there by any team out there in college football right now, coming to Ohio State and getting that.
So
victory.
You would add Oregon back?
I would add Oregon to that. Yes, they had a loss to Stanford, everything like that. And I was watching, which show was I watching? Desmond Howard was talking about it, and Joey Galloway. They were actually talking about the phantom pass interference that Oregon lost on to Stanford and everything like that. And like, does that play into the minds of the committee? And I say, no, it shouldn't. Because I mean, it should just go with what happened on the field. I mean, bad calls are a part of the game and that's what happens. But that loss right there, if they can still run the table, I still think they're in the discussion for it because they have the biggest win out of anybody with Ohio State. And then if Ohio State is playing football the way we expect them to play football for the rest of the season, that win is going to look better and better for the Ducks as long as they continue to handle their business. So they got to be big Ohio State fans and they got to handle their business.
All right, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Thoughts on those teams that we just had up on the screen. Again, I'll pop those back up for you to take a look at. Right now, just as the way I see it, and again, Oregon, I think I could put Oregon in that little asterisk category with the Bearcats, who still have a realistic chance of being in the conversation. But Oklahoma from the Big 12, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan out of the Big 10, and then Alabama, Georgia from the SEC, along with Cincinnati. I've eliminated the Pac-12 and ACC from playoff contention at this point. Oregon's going to be that wild card moving forward. Again, they need to root for chaos. But a lot of big games. Georgia at Auburn, Oklahoma at Texas, Penn State at Iowa. Penn State at Iowa is the big one. Let me ask you this, Kev, as we step away for a few moments. We'll open up the phone lines, 518-1410. Buckeye fans, who should we be rooting for this weekend, though? Should we be Penn State fans? Would Penn State beating Iowa, would we rather have an undefeated matchup with Penn State on October 30th? Or would we rather have a situation where we're facing an undefeated top 4 team in the country, Iowa, in the Big Ten championship game come early December. So think about this carefully. I don't even have a direct answer yet. We're going to discuss during the break and give you our take on the other side. But give us a call, 518-1410. As Buckeye fans, which team do you think needs to win to help benefit the Buckeyes more big picture? 518-1410. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
There's a lot of confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID, with guidelines and regulations changing by the week. One thing is certain, you need an accurate thermometer for your family to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Only the Exergen Temporal Scanner thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They have no scientific studies behind them and can miss the fever that might mean COVID. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Exergen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pitchers for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nacho Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazier Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazier Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glaziersoftwater.com. Glazier Water really is better water.
Hustler Turf commercial mowers are built tough to work hard. Whether you need a fleet of mowers or are a one-man show, you don't have time for downtime. Hustler mowers are over-engineered, overbuilt, and tested well beyond what is required, with the most complete lineup in the industry, including exclusives like a 104-inch Super 104, an 88-inch stand-on, and industry-leading warranties. Hustler mowers are ready to handle what you throw at them. Build your fleet to be reliable and versatile with Hustler Turf. Visit Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle today.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
OHMB 803342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial residential home loans. And Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate. 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Don't miss the ESPN Dayton Glacier Softwater High School Football Game of the Week every Friday night, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and Justin Kinner will have the call all season long. Check out wingam.com for the complete schedule and to stream the games live.
So Texas and Oklahoma, they get the big noon kickoff for Saturday.
Horns down.
I mean, I'm actually going for Texas because I just want the Big 12 out of it. I'm not a big. I'm tired of watching Oklahoma get there and just get the doors beat down. So that's why I'm glad Notre Dame got beat too as well. So there you go. This past weekend. How about that? We didn't get to talk about that, of course, this week. So much going on in the NFL. Urban Meyer, of course, and
threw us off schedule, man.
Yep, as Urban Meyer always says, the grind is real. So that was real for him this past weekend. Holy smokes! So, but that took up a lot of our coverage early in the week. But Cincinnati beating Notre Dame, that was all. It looked like freaking Christmas in South Bend. I mean, there was so much red scattered there. And how did Notre Dame fans let that many Bearcat fans buy up all them tickets like that? Like you could tell they didn't respect Cincinnati either. Like that was one of those where that's a bigger game for It's a bigger game for Cincinnati than it is for us. Yeah, well, when you approach things like that, you get smacked in the face. You also had Coach Kelly throughout the week. There was a lot of uppity type vibes to Notre Dame. Like I defended Kelly to a bit because I didn't mind what he said, but I should have known when I heard the tone that it was almost like he was doing the Bearcats a favor. And the Bearcats, I don't know where that came from. The Bearcats were not there for no handouts. They were like, no, that's cool. You put us on the schedule, but we're here to play. This isn't an opportunity for us to play here. It's an opportunity for us to beat you and to keep our name in the playoff conversation. When Kelly said last week, well, I put Central Michigan on the schedule. I put Cincinnati on the schedule. I just wanted them to have an opportunity to play at Notre Dame, since they gave me my opportunities in coaching beforehand. That's one example. The fans, the way they didn't turn out as much as the Bearcat fans did, they got what they deserved. And if you're a Notre Dame fan listening, you deserve every bit of that. Now you just got your ass whooping done in the middle of the season instead of waiting until January to have it done. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Man, what a game. It was awesome. And I found out something very important. The guy we were talking about last week, Sauce Gardner, he is Devin Gardner's younger cousin that played at Michigan. So Michigan, y'all let a dude that's going to go in the top 10 draft go to UC.
You see you later.
Yeah, and I was reading something about him after the game, and Notre Dame threw to his side one time. Guess what happened? Interception. So you only really hear this type of talk about a cornerback in the NFL, like Revis Island, Jalen Ramsey. Like, man, we can't throw to that side, man. He'll intercept it. But with this dude, it's like for real. Like every time they throw to his side, he intercepts the ball. I don't know how. I don't know why. I mean, I would be a fool to try to explain how this dude constantly is intercepting the ball or getting PBUs. PFF, we love that. But they had something like he's been thrown to his side 20 times. Has one interception, 10 PBUs. That's insanity, dude. That is crazy. So he's getting his hand on the ball more than half the times you throw it to his side or throw it at his man. So when you can't use that side of the field, when you're basically only playing on one side of the field and you see us shutting down your run game, you can't do anything. And Kelly was out here, played 3 quarterbacks. They played Cone. He threw the interception on the opening drive. Then they tried to pull in the dude that could run. That didn't work. Then they put in another dude. That didn't work. Only thing that worked was Notre Dame's defense caused a turnover, scooped it and ran it all the way down to the 5. And then eventually Notre Dame punched it in, which made it kind of like a game in the 4th. And then UC's offense took it 70 and put them up for good. And it was all she wrote by about 7 minutes in the 4th quarter. I was like, yo, they're going to pull this game off, dude, because they can't get any explosive plays. So kudos to UC for getting it done on the road.
Yeah, Shaw says Ohio State missed on him as well. Here's where I disagree with that. Ohio State, yes. Look, Ohio State, it's all 5 stars that they're getting.
Yeah, he's a 3-star dude.
So they didn't miss on him. Michigan needs all the help they can get. Ohio State, they're selecting. They're not really recruiting. Michigan, they're trying to recruit. They're working hard. You got a coach climbing trees and having sleepovers trying to get guys to come play for him. So, no, Shaw, your team missed out on him.
And he's from Detroit. Yeah. And a former player is his cousin. Like, that's like a tie-in. Like, you got to get that dude. Yeah. I mean, granted, maybe nobody saw him becoming this dude. Maybe nobody saw
Fickle and the Bearcat staff.
But like that's what Fickle does. I mean, we remember Darren Lee. Darren Lee was a 2-star quarterback coming out of high school, ended up turning into a first-round pick in the NFL draft. So maybe this is, Luke Fickle was highly recruiting Le'Veon Bell before he ended up going to Michigan State. Maybe Fickle just has an eye for this type of thing. So, kudos to Fickle, kudos to everybody on that staff at UC for getting it done. Now, just don't blow it.
No kidding. All right, so the big game this weekend, Iowa and Penn State, number 3 versus number 4. And there's so much writing on this game for the Big Ten as a whole, but it really does bring up an interesting question. Like, people keep saying that the whole reason that the SEC all the time gets 2 teams in the college football playoff is because of bias. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think that the SEC has the perfect storm of an elite team on one side of their division and another elite team on the other side, which usually sets up to undefeated showdowns in the SEC title game between Georgia and Alabama. And a lot of times that one loss that either of those teams have comes in the SEC title game. You could forgive them for that and put them in the playoff. Ohio State doesn't have that. All of the Big Ten, I'm sorry, not Ohio State, basically the Big Ten. All of the Big Ten's dominant teams are on one side, so they cannibalize one another. If Georgia and Alabama were on the same side of their SEC division, we wouldn't be talking as much about 2 teams from the SEC getting in. The only reason those 2 teams constantly get brought up is because they don't face one another until the SEC title game. They're usually top 4. They're usually undefeated. That's why there's always so much conversation of 2 SEC teams getting into the playoff. It's not that there's not a bias against the Big Ten. The thing against the Big Ten is one side of that bracket or one side of that division, the East, super, super weak. So, you got your Northwesterns, you got your Iowas, you got your Purdues. Now, Iowa is a different story this year. It sets up a perfect storm. If Iowa beats number 4 Penn State this weekend and they run the table to the Big Ten championship game where they face Ohio State or possibly Penn State once again, now all of a sudden the Big Ten might have 2 teams. They will have 2 teams in the conversation. If Ohio State beats undefeated Iowa in the Big Ten title game, that's possibly 2 teams getting into the college football playoff. All right. If Penn State gets to the Big Ten championship game, that means they beat Auburn. That means they beat Ohio State. That means they beat Michigan. That means they beat a lot of really good teams. Now, again, just like the SEC, it opens the door for 2 Big Ten teams to get in. It's not a bias thing that keeps Ohio State or that keeps the Big Ten from that conversation. It's just how the divisions are laid out. So, with this weekend, for Buckeye fans, who are you rooting for this weekend? Iowa or Penn State? And I don't mean rooting for as in which team you like more. Which team do we need to win more? Which team winning benefits Ohio State more than the other? Because I think it's kind of I think, to me, having a stronger opponent in the Big Ten championship game means more than beating a strong opponent in the middle of the regular season. Because Ohio State, they could beat a 1-loss Penn State coming up if they lose to Iowa. That's still a good win for Ohio State. It still gets them to the Big Ten championship game, and it gets them an undefeated Iowa, most likely an opponent in the Big Ten title game, if that's how it all pans out. Again, everything's so unpredictable. All I'm saying is I think that Iowa winning, I think Ohio State needs Iowa to win on Saturday more than they need Penn State to win. What say you?
Penn State, because I'm potentially going to that game.
But for Ohio State, who do they need to win more on Saturday?
I'm going to say Penn State because it's the here and now. You want to get those brownie points. whenever you can get them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to wait until
even if they've already got it with the win at Auburn and the chance to play Ohio State in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't want to wait to try to cash in and put all my chips in the table into the Big Ten championship game and just kind of like, all right, hope that Iowa runs the table and is undefeated until then. Like, that's a lot of football to go, because if they end up beating Penn State, who's to say they don't have a hiccup? I mean, we talked about Oregon. They just had a hiccup last week. Like you said, college football is so unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen week to week, who's going to get hurt. I would rather get that win versus an undefeated Penn State team when I can get it, as opposed to waiting until the end, hoping that Iowa. Now, if you told me Iowa's going to be undefeated in the Big Ten championship game, like, all right, let's do it. But I can't wait and hope that they handle their business, because college football is such an unpredictable sport. I mean, they could go ahead and lose to Northwestern, and then what? Then what? Like,
well, James will be calling in talking about his. Yesterday, he said that Northwestern's as much of a powerhouse as Wisconsin, by the way. So
yeah, if they lose to Northwestern, then what? Then Iowa, they're ranked 2. Say they get all the way up to 3 or whatever, and then they lose to Northwestern. They're going to tumble them down to 10, and then what? But if you get this win over Penn State and they beat Iowa, and then you beat them and they're like number 3 and you're number 10, you got to win over a top 3 team, then they're going to get bumped up. They're going to get fall behind you. So it's the cat and mouse game. So then after that, you become a Team Up North fan. You root for the Team Up North versus Penn State, because you want that Team Up North to be undefeated when you play them. So I'm rooting for Penn State, and don't tell my brother, but I'm rooting for that Team Up North.
You know, and what's interesting is if Clemson was still undefeated and in the mix, and there were still more teams, like if the Pac-12 still had a team in the mix, you still think Oregon. I don't think you're wrong there. I think that they're a fringe team. I think that Ohio State's better off as a one-loss team. Their chances are higher as a one-loss team making it over a one-loss Oregon, but that's nor here nor there, just because they have the better loss, if that makes sense. But really, it just is going to come down to they have less teams that they're competing with now. Right. So that's why I think that, I'm looking big picture at Iowa. That's that lasting example, that lasting game of, on the committee's mind. I'm not saying they'll forget about the Penn State game on October 30th, but so much will happen between October 30th and December 5th in the Big Ten title game that it'll be fresher to beat an undefeated Iowa team. But to your point, got to hope that they are still undefeated. They could beat Penn State Saturday night and then lose to some crap team a week later in typical Big Ten fashion. That's what would end up happening.
I believe they have Wisconsin the last week of the season. Let me double check that. Let me check their schedule.
So 518-1410, which team, Buckeye fans, which team do you think Ohio State needs to win more on Saturday? Kev says Penn State. Better chance of, Penn State beats Iowa on Saturday. There's a better chance of them being undefeated on October 30th, and that's a guaranteed big game for Ohio State. If Iowa wins on Saturday, you have to hope for the next 2 months that they don't slip up and weaken their value for a Big Ten championship showdown, which will be the final showing for Ohio State before Selection Sunday. So there's 2 different ways to look at that, Kev. Before we get to the phones, what'd you have?
Yeah, we got Iowa. They got this week. They got Penn State, Purdue, at Wisconsin on Halloween weekend, at Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois, at Nebraska. Out of those, which obviously negating the Penn State game, say they actually beat Penn State this week. Out of the Purdue, at Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois, at Nebraska. Out of that run, who do you see them potentially getting bit by?
Repeat that again for who? For
this
Iowa.
Is for Iowa. Purdue, at Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois, at Nebraska.
I'm going to say at Wisconsin will be the one that I think, just because it's always a tough environment to play in regardless of their record.
I would go with Nebraska.
Nebraska, just tail end of the year.
Pressure building up.
Look, maybe a trap game looking ahead to the Big Ten title game, potentially.
And not to cut you off, but Wisconsin, our buddy up there, their quarterback who was the main guy last year, I forget his name, but he's turning the ball over left and right.
Can't do that.
Grant Mertz. Yeah, he's turning the ball over. 6 interceptions.
518-1410. And by the way, David Shaw back on Gardner defending his maize and blue, okay? He says maybe his academics were bad. There are a ton of reasons why Michigan may not have wanted him. Forget they may not have wanted him. he probably didn't want them. No one's wanting to play it. No one's knocking on their door to go play for them. I mean, you have to really, really recruit to get guys to go play at Michigan right now. Michigan's not at the level of Ohio State and others where they're shooing 5 stars away. Just saying. All right, 518-1410, Iowa, Penn State, 3 versus 4. Biggest game of the weekend. Ohio State, big picture. Who do they need to win on Saturday? Not who do you want to win on Saturday. Who do the Buckeyes need to win this coming Saturday? 518-1410. Let's go to Tim. Tim, thanks for holding, sir. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good. I think that all 4 of the Big Ten teams all have their own destiny in their hands. So I don't think the Iowa-Penn State game means as much to Ohio State, because if Ohio State they have to take care of their business. If they do all the way, they'll get there. They'll go by everybody. And Cincinnati is going to be sitting there like TCU a few years ago when Ohio State steamrolled Wisconsin and leaped them. That's Cincinnati is sitting there like this year's TCU. I think that the game's more important to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati needs Penn State to beat Iowa, and then Penn State still has tougher games to come. I think Cincinnati needs more chaos, because they're going to be just sitting there. Where Ohio State, all the Big Ten teams, all have their destiny in their hands.
Tim, repeat the UC thing for me one more time. I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
Okay, well, Cincinnati's going to be sitting there, undefeated. They'll be sitting there. They're going to be sitting there like TCU a few years ago. They're going to be sitting there. All of a sudden, they'll get leaked in that last week. Say Ohio State's behind them. Well, if Ohio State wins that Big Ten championship, they'll leap them. TCU, they're sitting. And what I'm saying is that Cincinnati could be sitting there just like TCU a few years ago. So I think they need Penn State. Cincinnati needs Penn State to win, knowing that Penn State still has to play the teams in their division where they can stumble more easily.
Gotcha.
Tim, what do you think about this? So I'm looking at this. Coastal Carolina comes in at number 15. Cincinnati has played with beating Notre Dame. I think that resume is pretty good. As long as they win out and they're conference champions, they are going to realistically be in the playoff conversation. We've thought this in the past, and their name rarely gets brought up for the playoffs. I think that they are realistic threats to make the playoffs this year. I got to look to see when Cincinnati's bye week is and how it matchups with Coastal Carolina. But COVID taught us last year that teams could be flexible. They added Coastal Carolina late last year to be able to add a resume building game to give them an opportunity. Or was it UCF that did that? Who added Coastal Carolina last year? BYU. They did that. Yeah, I think Cincinnati should take a page out of that book from last year and say, well, maybe we should get with Coastal Carolina and add a game in the middle of the season. I know it's unorthodox, but we saw that teams could get it done last year during, the beginning stages of COVID. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm exploring opportunities like that. I know it's outside the box, but the Bearcats have to think outside the box. I would flirt with that idea of possibly trying to work that out.
That would be great, but you can't, because there's only a finite of games that you're allowed to play. Like with.
Yeah, and besides that,
say like, all right,
who we getting COVID against?
Too late, because now they're in conference play.
Tim, what were you going to say?
Conference that they're not even in anymore.
Yeah, well, Cincinnati's best wins against Notre Dame, and that's going to be that way. Well, Notre Dame, they're in a pick'em game this week with Virginia Tech. All of a sudden, Notre Dame ends up the season with 3 losses. They're going to be like at 18, 19, 20 area. And then you're saying you're keeping your hat on the Notre Dame win. And granted, they're in the conversation because they're going to sit there all season long at 3 or 4 or 5, because obviously they'll move up 1 this week when you get rid of either Iowa or Penn State.
Yeah, process of elimination.
So they're going to be sitting there, but they're just going to be sitting there. And either in Oklahoma, if they, which I agree with you, I don't want to even think that they're getting there. But if Oklahoma takes care of their business, they'll be there. All 4 of the Big Ten teams control their own destiny. All 4 of them, even Michigan, because if Michigan goes through both Penn State, Ohio State, and wins the Big Ten, obviously they're going to be rolling right back up there. So all 4 of them control their own destiny, and Cincinnati's just kind of just sitting there.
Yeah, they could win out, beat every team by 50, and still not be guaranteed a spot in the playoff. To your point, if Michigan or Penn State or Iowa or Ohio State, any of those teams all win out, they're in. So that's the difference between them and Cincinnati at this point. So I didn't think of it like that, but you're right, Tim. And I don't give out those praises often. I never tell people they're right, but you are right, Tim. But Tim, thank you for the call, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, 518-1410. I mean, that is something I did not consider either, is that Cincinnati, unfortunately, they don't control their own destiny.
Right.
They can control what's in front of them as far as their opponent, play them, blow them out, move on to the next one. But Michigan, they could win out, be in the playoff.
Yeah.
Ohio State could win out, even with one loss, be in the playoff. Penn State, Iowa, again. So that's an interesting different way to look at it is, yes, every Big Ten team right now, they control their own destiny. As long as you win, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm looking at the back half of UC's schedule. They have Temple Friday night. Then they got UCF the following week at Navy, which we talked about last week about those good old chop blocks. At Tulane, Tulsa, at UCF, I'm sorry, and then SMU, and then they end the season at East Carolina. So the biggest one on there, like ranking rise, is SMU. SMU is ranked 23rd right now. 24th right now. So, like we said before, man, in the world that UC lives in, they're in a world of we got to handle our business, number one, and then hope chaos happens around us, and then hope that now that SMU continues to handle business and win games and be a ranked opponent towards the back end of the schedule. Because you're looking at everything that's going on in the SEC. You look at Georgia and the dominance of their defense, and then you look at Alabama doing what Alabama does. The worst thing in the world for UC is both those teams be undefeated going in the SEC championship game. That's the worst thing that can happen, because if they are, and that game is a 10-point game, both teams are going to get in.
Yeah, well, see, my view was,
so that's
Alabama, Georgia,
2 spots.
Alabama, Georgia, Big Ten champion. That 4th spot you're fighting with 1-loss Oregon, 1-loss Oklahoma, possibly, which they're still going to probably draw the short end of the stick there. I don't know. I think I combined analogies. They draw the short end. They draw the short straw. What the hell did I just say? But either way, it's going to be fun. This is fun. I hate when we know who teams 1 through 3 are. For the last couple of seasons, we knew it was Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and then it's a bunch of teams fighting for that 4th. Right now, Alabama is a lock at 1. We think Georgia's going to be 2, but man, they trip up before Alabama and they lose to Alabama in the SEC title. They're out. So there's a lot of teams. There's going to be 8 to 10 teams fighting for 3 spots, possibly 2 spots. This will be the most entertaining, and already is, to me, one of the most entertaining college football seasons already.
Yeah, I definitely see it that way. You just said 4 teams fighting for 1 spot. And I think that all those teams will be worthy if we're just going off of how they're playing right now. Like I said, the worst thing for UC is Georgia, Bama being undefeated going into the SEC championship game. You really want one of those teams to have a loss on their resume, and then whoever's the undefeated team, take them out and give them the second loss. That way you can have some type of ammunition. And I just don't see it happening. I know that Kentucky is coming up. I know Kentucky's undefeated, and they actually have Georgia next week. And that's a big matchup for Kentucky, big opportunity for them. But I just don't, that defense, man. It's
kind of like the Arkansas game this past weekend. They were a cute story, Arkansas and Georgia. And then it's like, well, the buildup is cute and it's adorable and it's fun. And it's, oh, look at this little new team. And then all of a sudden kickoff happens and you're like, oh, yeah, it's football. Bigger, stronger, faster. That's just
the bad thing about it is,
shout out to Dylan for that one.
They go to Georgia. Last week they had Florida at their house. So, what I'm saying? They had the crowd on their side. And, Kentucky has a really good defense as well. But I just don't see them being able to take down Georgia at Georgia. That's all.
All right. 518-1410. 518-1410. Ohio State. Big game this weekend. Yes, they have Maryland, but a big game for Ohio State this weekend, and it's not even their opponent. Obviously, every time you're stepping on the field, that opponent matters. I don't care about the coaches speak. That's stupid. You guys know what the hell I mean. I don't need to over-explain it. Big game for Ohio State this weekend. No, not their own. Penn State, Iowa, 3 versus 4. Which team does Ohio State need to win more between the two? By the way, we're having 2 conversations at once. Gardner is getting a lot of pub today on the show. Doug Toby brings up a good point here, and I don't say that often about Bengals fan Doug Toby. Doug Toby says he wanted to play for Marcus Freeman, talking about Gardner. He wanted to play for Marcus Freeman at UC. Now Marcus is going to start getting those good recruits that Marcus lost to his recruits. Ohio State screwed up. They should have got Marcus before Notre Dame did. Yes, Ohio State didn't miss out on Gardner. What they missed out on was going out and getting a guy like Marcus, because that's really, to me, that was a huge win for Notre Dame right there. He was his role with the Bearcats came in the offseason more so. I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator, but like his role was really bigger for the Bearcats in the offseason more so during the season.
Absolutely.
I think that's going to be more noticeable moving forward.
Protege to Coach Fickle and everything like that, runs the defense, and, big dog recruiter.
And he could end up back at Cincinnati. I never thought he would maybe go back to, but if Cincinnati now a Big 12 team, if Fickle does take that leap and goes on to a bigger program, you could see him back in Ohio, just not with the Buckeyes, but over at Cincinnati. So we'll see how long the stint with Notre Dame is.
And I mean, the way the Ohio State defense played last year and the playing this year, I mean, they played better these last couple of weeks and everything like that. I mean, that has definitely been the hot button issue on the boards about, one of our own, Marcus Freeman, coaching at Notre Dame and everything like that. Like, thinking like, man, we'd rather have him bringing our defense in.
So this is an interesting thing. So Nick says all OSU has to do is offer the DC job to Marcus, and he will leave Notre Dame in a heartbeat. Do you believe that to be the case? My Buckeye ego inside me thinks, yeah, I agree with Nick. Do you agree with Nick? If Ohio State offers Freeman that defensive coordinator job, because Day's going to clean house. I mean, the second, the playoff game, the bowl game, the clock hits 0 in January 1st, Freeman better have an offer on the table. And Nick, I don't think you're too far off there. I don't know if we're doing the homerism thing. We're just assuming that we are the Buckeyes. That's the spot to be. A lot of people look at Notre Dame fans view that their team, their program as the spot to be if you enjoy, losing big game after big game, but being hyped up anyways for. I mean, if that's your thing, more power to you. If Ohio State offers Freeman that job in the offseason, does he take it?
Depends on what other jobs are out there. And I'm especially talking about head coaching jobs. I mean, he's on a fast track to be a head coach. So depends on what head coaching jobs are out there. I know back in the day, you would get coaches like that would take, lesser programs and then try to build them up. And then they find themselves in a world of hurt. Gil Turner Gill, I believe his name was. It used to be the quarterback in Nebraska, and then he was the head coach at Buffalo, and then he ended up taking the Kansas job. And people at Kansas was wondering why they weren't winning football games. Well, you're Kansas football. That's why you're not winning football games. And then he got fired and never coached in big-time college football again. So for him, I think it's what opportunities are out there to be a head coach. I would love for him to come to Ohio State, love for him to come back to Ohio State and be the DC and fix the defense and get another great recruiter on the team and everything like that. That would be awesome. I think we'll have to come down between that. Depending on the head coaching opportunities are out there.
Which program is in the better trajectory as far as to what's next?
Yeah, like you said, like
Ohio State.
If UC calls him and Fickle leaves and UC calls him, I mean, I could see him going to UC.
Head coach at UC, heading to the Big 12, better than the D coordinator position at Ohio State.
But if, I'm not trying to dog any teams out there, but if so-and-so university calls, I'm good. I'll stay where I'm at. I'll probably make even more money at Notre Dame, or I'll go make more money at Ohio State, and I'll be back in my home state. So he got a lot of opportunities. He's definitely in the right place to be.
I heard the nightlife in Columbus it's popping. I'm just saying.
I've seen videos.
It's a grind downtown, let me tell you. 518-1410. Charlie, how are you, sir?
What's going on, guys?
Another day in the life, man. How's the roads?
Not bad. I'm on my way back from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Man, Tim made me think about, kind of opened it up a little bit because
Tim was a good caller. He made me think, and I'm not a good thinker for obvious reasons. So yeah, I like Tim in his opinion that and his view that he had when he called in a little bit ago.
Yeah, well, to answer your question, Ohio State, I think, needs Penn State to win because right now Penn State, I mean, they're the class of the Big Ten right now, and Ohio State is going to need help because if Oregon ends up winning the Pac-12, who do you take? A one-loss Oregon who beat Ohio State or Ohio State? So they need the most impressive win they can possibly get, which is Penn State.
Fair
so there's that. But what does the Big Ten need, right? Because in order to sway people's opinion away from SEC, you need we need Penn State to win out and go win a national championship. Because what happens Like, look at these conferences. You got the Big Ten, but you have Ohio State. Like, they're the kings. You know, in the SEC, you have the SEC, but you have Alabama. They're the kings. But even Alabama has, like, a, quote, off year where they lose, like, one game, and somebody else gets in, and then they win a national championship. You know? It's like, Florida's won 2 in the last 20 years. LSU, I think they've won 3, right, in the last 20 years?
LSU,
is that right?
I know they won 2. One a courtesy of Ohio State, of course.
Yeah, Auburn's won one. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
3. Yes,
Who
3.
was the other one? When did they win the other?
They beat Oklahoma.
They won one with Nick
with Les
Saban.
Miles. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Nick Saban over Oklahoma, then
One with Les Miles, one with Saban,
Ohio
and
State.
then
yeah,
Ed Orgeron. About 3 different coaches have won a national championship in the last 2 decades with LSU. That's interesting. And we don't look at that program as a national power in regards to just drop any old coach in there. It's like the Marlins in baseball. They win a World Series, they blow it all up. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the LSU program right there. But I didn't even really process that. That is interesting.
Well, I just think that that's how it works in the SEC, the same as the Big Ten, because you have such a major recruiting power like Ohio State that, like, when you're Penn State, now's the time you got to, like, hit your home run. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do it now, because Ohio State they're just always going to be stacked. And maybe you catch them on a down year, you know, like this year. So I think it would be better for the Big Ten if Penn State wins out, because they're clearly the best team, and they beat an SEC school, which was awesome. So they have, like, they look like a team, you know, ready for the big show. You know what I mean? And then as far as, like, Cincinnati, man, you need Iowa to lose to Penn State. Then you need to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. You need Ohio State to lose. You probably need Iowa to lose 2 games and still play in the Big Ten championship, and then beat a 1-loss Ohio State team, and that'll completely wipe out the Big Ten. Like, that's probably what it's going to take.
So you're telling me there's a chance. That's what you're saying.
Well, in my mind right now, if Cincinnati wins out, they're pretty much locked into a New Year's Six game, and that's awesome, like they did last year. But, people don't realize, like, the SEC, they're going to have 2 teams in the playoffs. That's a lock. Georgia is going to play Alabama. They're both going to be undefeated. One of them's barely going to lose, and they're both going to go to the playoffs. So if Ohio State or Penn State or anybody gets close to that Big Ten championship and wins, that's a lock. Ohio State is a lock. If they beat Penn State and win the Big Ten, there's no chance Cincinnati jumps them. And then, so now you're like, okay, well, what do you do if Oregon wins the Pac-12? You're going to put them ahead of Cincinnati. So, and it just sucks, but that's just the way it is. So, like, Cincinnati needs big, big help.
Yeah, I agree. The Bengals will not make the playoffs. Oh, we're talking Bearcats. My fault. I got my Cincinnati teams mixed up.
I would tell you what, there is only one reason I would want to lose some games, and it's to get sauce out of Cincinnati, man. Because if he ends up knowing how Pittsburgh does, they'll probably draft him, you know, because they don't care. They want all the best defensive players, and that kid's a stud.
We need him.
And they get kids from Ohio, you know.
Yeah, and then you got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback next year, and the Steelers are back to winning the AFC North, man. I'm telling you. So there you go.
Hey, can you make me a promise, Justin?
What?
As long as, even if it's news, can we just pretend like there's no chance that ever happens?
Here's the deal. I'm kind of, never mind. The Browns. Aaron Rodgers can go to Cleveland. He can go to Cleveland. I'd welcome him in Cleveland. Just saying.
Yeah, and no, has anybody even talked about, like, those Steelers couldn't really afford Ben Roethlisberger, and they don't really have a good line. Like, how could they
can afford Ben Roethlisberger? Every team can afford their quarterback. What they can't afford is the pieces to put around the quarterback or to put pieces on defense. Every team can afford the quarterback. That's why the league, that's what it was set up for. But the problem is teams have yet to be able to master how to build a consistent, I shouldn't say consistent. Teams have yet to master how to create a dynasty in this Super Bowl era with a max paid quarterback. And what it does is it makes the quarterback be the bad guy. It's not fair, but it's forced the quarterback to be this evil person, selfish person, when that's really not how it should be. Like, we praise Tom Brady for taking less money. By the way, that is really cool that he does that, but it shouldn't be, well, Tom Brady takes less money, so you should take less money, because then it forces the players to be these evil bad guys that are being selfish, when really it's like you set the system up to pay the quarterback, but then they're the selfish guys when they take the money, and then the team can't win win Super Bowls. Okay, they can win. They can't win Super Bowls. The Seahawks, I always use them as that example right there. They're always good, but they haven't returned to their dominance since Wilson was in his rookie year. But Charlie, you have 60 seconds. Close this out.
Well, I just think that, people have talked about having a quarterback being exempt from the cap.
I would love that.
Player strategy, it just makes and I'm talking as a Bengals fan who've had to watch a lot of bad teams, strategy makes it fun. I like that they have to figure out how to pay these guys, and they have to hit on draft picks, and going to the scrap heap and getting players that have, maybe had a bad pass or whatever. But, that's just part of the fun of the league. But, yeah, Ohio State, going back to that, they need Penn State to win. They gotta have a big state win.
Hey, Charlie, good hearing from you, man.
All right, see you guys. Who Day.
Be safe on the road. I'm being nice. Be safe on the roads. Then he ends with Who Day. Not that I don't want him to be safe on the roads now. I'm just saying I wouldn't say something nice if I knew he was going to end it with Who Day. There you go. Big one, though, for Who Day with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. That defense, they better take notes against Aaron Rodgers, because there's a good chance he's in the AFC North next year. Either with Pittsburgh or with Cleveland. Just saying. Been doing a lot of thinking on this, and I was like, I don't know why I'm being selfish here saying that Pittsburgh, I want to be more so. I think the Browns should get Aaron Rodgers. Just saying. RELAX. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. All right, so speaking of the Bengals and the Packers and the Cleveland Browns, they have the Chargers coming up, and I tell you what, two big opportunities for both Ohio teams. And really, I think after this weekend, we're going to know just how good both the Bengals and the Browns really are this coming up Sunday. But injuries are going to play a huge role in both matchups. Injuries that are impacting the Cincinnati Bengals side, as well as injuries that are impacting the Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about that to kick off the next part of the show. 518-1410. We'll keep the phone lines open. We'll talk to you on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
So, what are you sipping? Whether it's our freshly ground coffee to wake you up, or an icy Polar Pop cup or Froster to keep you going, our new Sip and Save drink subscription at Circle K will keep you refreshed every day. Join Circle K's Sip and Save and grab any size drink every day for just $5.99 a month. Yeah. Start sipping and saving today. Just sign up with your mobile number when you check out at Circle K. Limited time offer at participating locations.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Hey Buckeye fans, as the official wing sponsor of your Ohio State Buckeyes, Roosters is giving away 12 trips for two to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with airfare, hotel, gift bag, and 2 tickets to the big game. One bowl prize winner will be chosen each week, along with other cool Roosters weekly prizes. So register every week at roosterswings.com. Roosters, a fun casual joint and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Official contest rules at roosterswings.com.
In college football, Goodyear knows a new season means new possibilities, where every Saturday is an opportunity on the road to greatness. No matter if you're out there playing your hardest or cheering the loudest from the sidelines, tailgating in the parking lot, or your favorite spot to watch the game, Goodyear knows passion is what drives us forward all the way to the playoffs. That's the road that moves us. Goodyear, more driven.
Today's pros need today's tools, and nobody understands that better than the Home Depot. Our app makes it simpler to get supplies ordered and delivered. Our online project calculators cut guesswork and last-second supply runs. Job site delivery puts what you need where and when you need it. And rental puts the right equipment in your hands, but not your overhead. That's how today's pros get more done. New tech, new tools, old-fashioned hard work. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
So as you guys know, Mark's gone.
The float artist at Fred's Floral just took off, days before the parade. They need a replacement before business passes them by.
Oh, and who am I going to get to finish the float?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Fall savings inside the Home Depot means something different once you get out there doing. For example, in here, it's a wide selection of top-rated appliances. But out there, it's your home running like a well-oiled machine. Order in store or use one-click bundling when you order online or in the Home Depot app. Shop the lowest prices of the season and enjoy free and flexible delivery on orders of $396 or more. At the Home Depot, how doers get more done. U.S. only. While supplies last, valid September 30th through October 20th.
Folks, when you feed your dog, does he just stand there and look at you? Make your dog great again with premium foods from Homestead Feed and Supply. If it eats, we can feed it. 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Whatever you're into, you'll find it at Audible. Listen to thrillers, motivation, comedy, and more with podcasts, bestsellers, and originals all in one app. Sign up and start free at audible.com.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, The Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Hour number 2, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Happy Thursday. Kinner's Cash Contest. I'm giving away $1,000 a day because when you work in radio, you make so much money, and I make so much money. So I want to share my money with you. I'm giving away $1,000 a day. Be listening 12 times a day again for the winning word. When you hear that winning word, you'll enter it at the Kinner's Cash portion of the website at wingam.com. So head to wingam.com and enter the winning word day. All the winning words, of course, will be, well, the last names of a lot of our players that we cover here locally, of course, between Ohio State, between the Dayton Flyers, Wright State, the Cincinnati Reds, the Browns, the Bengals. Ryan Day. You don't enter Ryan Day. You just enter Day, D-A-Y, at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. Kinner's giving away $1,000 a day. All you got to do is be listening for the winning word and enter it at wingam.com. One more time, it's Kinner's Cash $1,000 day giveaway at wingam.com. Kev, you can't enter. You can't enter.
Thumbs down. Thumbs down. I want your money. I want all the money that you get.
I need to make some burner accounts so I can go sign up for this money that I already have that I'm giving away. It's the Kinner's Cash Contest. Giving away $1,000 a day, baby. Let's go.
So it's all the last names of the people we cover on here. Is Meyer going to be on the list?
No. No. Actually, no. Not Meyer. You could be listening for Urban at some point. So there you go. But all right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. And of course, I screwed up my computer screen here, so I can't see what's going on as far as anything is concerned. But I'll worry about that later. Nope, I got to try one more thing. Let's see what we can do here.
So while you're thinking of that, I want to ask you something.
Ask away.
You know, we're making a big joke of this Urban Meyer situation. We're having fun with it, you know, because we're so mature. How do you think they're handling it up in Columbus? Are they like got the
Meyer household?
No. On Columbus radio. Do you think they're like super serious? Or are they poking fun at it like we are?
Common Man and T-Bone? I have no idea. I really would love to know. I haven't talked to them in a while. I'm going to have to reach out and figure out how they approach that over in Columbus. I'm not sure. I'm getting the vibe now. And see, this is why I get so annoyed, because like when Urban Meyer was going through that whole ordeal with Zach Smith years ago, you couldn't even say anything remotely negative about Urban without people just wanting to just rip your head off.
Mm-hmm.
Urban could do no wrong. Now, I can't believe all the venom that's being spewed his way. I'm like, where were you guys 3 years ago? I thought this guy could do no wrong. Now, this is like so tiny compared to what he was involved in 3 years ago when everyone took a stand for him. This is what we're going to bury Urban over. That's just weird to me. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm curious Buckeye fans' views on all of this. Like, there's not a lot of outcry of defending him. I feel like I'm in the minority when it comes to defending Urban Meyer in this, not defending his actions. I'm defending the way that people are coming at him for this. I just don't think it's as big a deal as what people are pretending to make it out to be. But I don't know. I'm just curious how that is being viewed as well.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a lot to unpack. You know, him being a former college coach, you know, the situations that he had dating back to Florida, then the situations with Ohio State. I know a lot of people will talk about Urban Meyer is going to be heading to, you know, potentially USC or LSU or something like that. Look, man, go ahead and Google some of the things that those programs, USC and LSU, have been dealing with violence towards women. Not saying that Urban Meyer did anything violent to a woman, but he was definitely involved with a situation that had some undertones of violence towards women. Like, people think it's a closed book situation that, like, all right, man, this season's going to end. He's going to get fired or quit. Then he's going to be USC's next head coach or LSU's next head coach. Look, man, these chancellors at these universities, a lot of these dudes are academics. A lot of these men and women are academics. They care about sports because it brings in revenue and everything like that. But like, they do have some type of moral situations that they have to uphold. Like, giving dudes,
do they?
Yeah, with violence towards women, they somewhere they got to like draw the line. Like, giving a kid a house, giving a kid's mom a job, a fake job, or a Corvette or whatever, whatever, it happens. But like, when you have issues that you have at LSU with Orgeron and Les Miles, and then you have potentially try to hire another head coach that was involved with a situation with an assistant coach with potential violence towards a woman, like, that'll be like 3 straight head coaches with that type of baggage. Like, that's scary to think about. And then the situations going on at USC, like, with violence towards women, like, that's something that at some point, like, you have to have some type of morals about you, don't you? Like,
well, I mean, morals, yeah. But I mean, like, you're also talking about a football team that has close to about 100 people under that team's umbrella. I just don't think there's a bulletproof plan to have how in factories it's been X amount of days since we've had a situation. Like, I think it's almost like that type of thing. Like, you're happy when you go X amount of days without something like that, but you're talking about 18-year-old boys coming onto campus that are learning about themselves, all while trying to go to class, all while trying to play for this, you know, highly touted university. They're being told how great social media has only made it worse in regards to how big these guys even feel ego-wise. On top of that, I just feel like a lot of mistakes are going when you're talking about just a football program alone. We're talking hundreds of boys trying to develop into men and learn without their parents being there to walk them through life. And, you know, you talk about one head coach who's responsible for all 100 of these guys' actions. I'm not defending any coach that has hidden anything domestic violence wise. All I'm trying to say is that I do think you got to be careful about the chopping block that we put these coaches' heads on whenever something like this happens, because of the fact that we're always going to have this. It's always great to continue to raise awareness for these situations. I'm definitely not saying otherwise, but to act like it's just going to never happen. I think. But to your point, it's about, okay, yes, it's going to happen, but what do you do as a leader to address it. And that's been the issue, is we've had too many situations just brushed under the rug. But what's crazy is, and I have friends that work for news stations in Columbus that I've heard how hard Ohio State comes down on them. You want your credential?
Mm-hmm.
You want to continue showing up for media days? You want your station to still get tickets? There's some sponsors we can pull from you guys, so you guys lose money on that. That's from what I hear from friends that work at local news stations in Columbus, Ohio State bullies them around. And I'm bringing that up because that's not just an Ohio State thing.
Right.
I'm pretty sure there's a team here in town that they don't like if you say something questionable about them, and they like to kind of throw their, Kinner, you don't do jumping jacks for the Dayton Flyers like everybody else. Well, you can't interview our coach. Okay, that's fine. I'm not comparing that to the severity of what we're talking about. But programs like to throw their weight around, which is why I don't believe in the high moral ethics code that they all like to try to tip their hat to. They're all egocentric, and they all it just drives me nuts with these universities. Sometimes they love to throw their power around. And now they're having to be super careful with everything that they do and say. And even the littlest of things need to be brought to the attention of this, because if not, and they let something fall through the cracks, we're finding out 20 years from now, hey, remember that time that this was brought to your attention, you did nothing about it, and you thought a year later, okay, good, we survived that storm. You're never safe from these situations. They're going to keep coming back up.
Absolutely.
With Urban Meyer, Brett McMurphy, by the way, who dislikes Urban probably more than any other person out there, maybe Shelley, I don't know. Brett McMurphy, Kev, says 73% of college ADs told Action Network, which is the company he works for, that they would not consider hiring Urban Meyer if they needed a coach in 2022. So the reason I have a problem with this, I said 100% of those 73% are full of crap. I think there's only 2 programs in the country that can honestly, without any repercussions, say, we don't need Urban Meyer. That's Alabama and Clemson. I got a lot of Buckeye fans saying the same thing, but if I would have made that comment in any other state, people would not have included Ohio State in there to begin with. So they interviewed 65 of the 130 FBS ADs. The group of 5 ADs were more willing to hire Meyer, of course, 39% of those. But he says that one of the Power 5 ADs said, not in a million years. Shut up. Listen, Urban Meyer has a lot of baggage. Some of it's self-inflicted. Others, part of that baggage is media vendettas. I used to not believe in that. I'm witnessing it. I'm watching it happen right now. I'm not just letting him off the hook for by any means. But it's like I'm watching media guys that go after him for things that other coaches have done that we just ignore because, it's not if it bleeds, it leads type of deal. That's kind of how this is being approached in Urban. You just drop his name. He's so polarizing, it's going to generate a response and action right away. I don't believe this one bit. 73% of college ADs. You mean to tell me, athletic, we just went through we're still going through it, a global pandemic. Life and death situations here. Life and death situations were having to be made by athletic directors and by, you were talking about the head of the Big Ten and the head of the SEC and others, and Sankey and Warren and everyone being ripped from both sides of, well, we're going to play as if nothing's going on. You get ripped for that decision. Kevin Warren tries to side right on the side of caution. He gets ripped for that decision. All of these decisions are being made. You know what ended up happening? Money's on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Money needs to be made. A lot of money, not just a little money. We're talking a lot of money, and they push through that. I don't believe that there are high ethics at the top of these universities when it comes to decision making. They want to make their money. And if it means playing through a global pandemic during a stretch where there was no vaccine and opportunity for players to go and get protected against this thing, I don't believe this high moral ground that these ADs pretend to stand on. It's just a joke to me because, like I said, there's just so many things I hear from behind the scenes of what gets swept under the rug at universities. I just have a hard time believing that the holier than thou approaches of, Urban Meyer, absolutely not. He has no place at our table here at this pristine university. Give me a break. 73%, Kev, that's a high number. That's
definitely a high number. And that's 73% of all the college football are Power 5.
What?
Is that 73%?
Of the 65.
Okay. Yeah, that seems way too high in my book. But when you're hiring a coach, it's 3 people or 3 groups in charge of it. It's the AD, it's the president of the university / chancellor, whatever you want to say, and the boosters.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3 sets of people. Now, the chancellor or president of the university probably is the one out there the academic and has the high morals and everything like that. And that person has to combat the wills and wants of the boosters, because the boosters are the ones really paying for this whole kit and caboodle with all their millions of dollars, and the AD, and he's on the line all the time for wins and losses. My thing about anything that goes on corrupt, doesn't matter if it's sports or anything like that, anything, it's the cover up. It's always the cover up. We can look at our own United States gymnastics team with the cover up of the Larry Nassar situation, of the women that were being touched by him. Yes, what he did was foul. He's the bad guy here. But our government is also the bad guy for, well, don't worry about it. We're just going to fire him. Don't worry about it, and try to cover up. It's the cover up that gets you all the time. But the cover up is worse than the crime, because you turn a blind eye to it and act like nothing happened and expect these people that were abused just to suck it up and take a gold medal or take your gold pants or whatever cool thing you're going to give them and just, yeah, it's all good. I took one for the team. Like, that's the problem. People try to cover up these issues as opposed to taking it head on and saying, hey, player X did this to this co-ed. We got to get them out the paint. Like, just do it. Just do it. Because people that do these type of crimes to women or people in general, they don't deserve a spot on a football team. They don't deserve a spot on a basketball team. They don't deserve to be on a college campus at all. So when a coach tries to cover it up, they're just as guilty as the player. And the people that help them cover it up are just as guilty as well. That's why these people get fired, and that's why they get prosecuted to the 10th degree. That's why a dude like Les Miles ain't got a job right now.
Yeah, he's an example real quick of guys that tried to help cover it up. Then there's coaches like Urban, who I don't think tried to cover anything up. I just don't think he wasn't responsible with his position to shed light on it. I think there's a difference. There's guys who go out of their way to hide something.
Right.
And then there are guys who just know something that are like, yeah, I'm going to pretend you didn't just tell me that. And boom, let's move on. Like, if that's what happened, let the legal system take care of that. And I think that there's a difference in that. Still not right. But I do think that was more of Urban Meyer during the Zach Smith situation than what we're hearing about Les Miles, which is why he will never coach again in football. I'm not putting Urban Meyer and Les Miles in that same conversation. That's not fair to Urban Meyer.
Oh, yeah. And then,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and then you look at everything. I'm sorry for forgetting his name. The former Baylor head coach. Mm-hmm. So you do this big investigation. Art Briles. Yeah. Yep. You find all these things that he was covering up down there, and then nothing happens.
Cover it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And nothing happens. So how is someone just a regular student, say you're living in Texas and your daughter gets a scholarship to Baylor, and like, Dad, I'm going to Baylor on an academic scholarship. How are you supposed to send your kid down there knowing that predators are just walking around the campus, and the guy, the highest stated paid employee, is out there just covering up? Because you got to remember, at that time when Art Briles was there, they were rolling. They were rolling. Like, you got to think, like,
RG3.
Yeah, like all this, they're winning Heisman trophies. They're coming in ranked in the college football playoff. Like, when you're a coach in these small college towns, you have the power. And just like you talked about with programs in our town, Columbus and everything like that, they don't have a problem throwing around their weight, saying what they can and won't do for you unless you do what they want you to do. So when you're under that thumb, what are you supposed to do? So that's why it's up to the chancellor / presidents to lay the hammer down on these people, man. So, like, that's where I have like a big issue with, well, not issue, question mark about like people that are just saying like, oh yeah, it's a guarantee. As soon as he's fired or quits Jacksonville, he's going to walk right into these other universities. I don't know if it's that simple. I don't know if it's that easy just to say, all right, boom, on to the next. I just don't know if it's that easy as people make it out to be, because there's a lot of things that have to go on behind the scenes and a lot of things that people have to sign off on and have to be okay with. And we already heard about the situation with the athletic director at USC, him coming out saying, yeah, I'm not an Urban Meyer guy, years before. Like,
but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
When his seat gets hot, it's kind of funny how I don't really know much about this Urban fella. Tell me about it. You know, like we pretend like we're all knowing when we're trying to sound like, because and that's life. Unfortunately, sometimes doing the right thing will cost you your job as opposed to just going with the everyday flow. And that's, I mean, And that's the unfortunate part. I just don't think Urban's background is to the point where we have to put him in that conversation with Les Miles and Art Briles and others, because I think we're pushing it a little bit there. Urban Meyer was snaky at Florida when it came to the typical recruiting and typical behind the scenes stuff like with that. The Zach Smith thing was a very ugly picture about what he knew or did not know between Zach Smith and his wife or something like that. But like, I just can't put Urban in that category with those others. And that's why the way these schools make him sound like these schools act as if he is Art Briles. They talk about Urban Meyer. If Urban Meyer was Art Briles, he wouldn't be in the NFL.
Right.
He wouldn't be brought up for any coach. The only reason he gets brought up for coaching, Art Briles doesn't get mentioned for coaching gigs. Les Miles will never be brought up for coaching gigs. So if
Art Briles right now.
For Urban, some high school hired him at one point, and now I think he's at some D3 school, if I'm not mistaken. Some school in Texas, by the way, a high school had hired him at one point, and then there was too much noise, and I think it didn't work out for obvious reasons. But can everyone see where I'm coming from with that when it comes to Urban Meyer? I think we do. I think he's being put in a category that he doesn't deserve to be in. And if he truly was an Art Briles, or if he truly was a Les Miles, he wouldn't be brought up for coaching gigs. He wouldn't be with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He wouldn't be brought up right away if he gets fired from Jacksonville to return to college, because nobody's saying that about Art Briles. Nobody's saying that about Les Miles. Urban, it's a good thing he doesn't have a name that rhymes with those guys. Otherwise, he'd really be in trouble. I'm just saying.
What's the things that you see at the grocery store? Tabloids. Like, that's where he is right now.
He's a tabloid guy. Yeah, he's a Kardashian.
That is not good. That's not good. Like,
but I'd rather be a tabloid guy than a front page of a newspaper guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, here's what we think he is versus here's what we know he is. If Urban's a tabloid guy, you know what? I mean, it's just one of those things to me where he's hireable. And if the programs really want to win, they'll hire him because he'll win you football games. He'll win you championships, college-wise, of course. But he's not a Les Miles. He's not an Art Briles. I just can't get in on that. That's all.
If I'm Trevor Lawrence and I'll go back and listen to his press conference, I'm thinking to myself,
real quick, Texas, in the same state that the Baylor thing happened, Texas offered Urban the job.
Right.
It's really not a matter of will schools hire Urban. It's will Urban return to coaching in college. Texas was willing to give him whatever the hell he wanted. That would have totally changed the landscape of college football. But that would have been before the conference realignment even happened, before we knew of Texas going to the SEC. Can you imagine Urban returning to the SEC with Texas? So I'm gonna let you get back to your point, but keep in mind, Urban's not Les Miles. He's not Art Briles. If he was, schools like Texas and USC and these big pristine programs would not be in the conversation with Urban Meyer. That's all.
If I'm Trevor Lawrence, man, if I'm listening back to his press conference that Herb had the other day, I'm thinking to myself, how'd my name get brought up in this? And when he brought up, like, when I told Trevor when he was going to his bachelor party in Las Vegas, I told him to stay out of trouble and watch yourself. I would be thinking to myself, like, dang, why did my name get brought up in this? Like, I went to give my bachelor party. It's incidental. It's not on purpose. I'm not saying Herb put his name out there on purpose.
There's Trevor reading his Bible at his bachelor party. I'm just saying,
it's just like
he probably did worse than what Urban did. I'm just saying.
I would just feel like, hey man, this ain't got nothing to do with me. Keep my name out of this. Hey man, I'm happily married. Whatever I did in Vegas, stayed in Vegas, right? That's how the saying goes. Like, but that's how I would be thinking if I was Trevor Lawrence. I'd be like, man, this ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, why is my name being brought up? It's just like just a blunder. Like, I guess it's not it irked me kind of, not like a horrible thing, but it's just like, ugh, why did he bring him up? Like, I ain't got nothing to do with this.
Slayton's coming through in the clutch. Shout out to John. He says he wrote it's a long excerpt. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Briles was hired as the head coach for Mount Vernon High School in Texas in May of 19 on a 2-year deal. A month into his season, Briles and Mount Vernon were publicly reprimanded by a state oversight committee for using ineligible players.
It's lit.
I mean, my goodness. So see, and by the way, are Briles using ineligible players? That's like the old school thing to get in trouble for. Like, that's like, he'd probably welcome that. Oh, thank God. I'll take getting reprimanded for recruiting violations any day over what he ultimately lost his job for. But all right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Tyler Schrody says it would be harder for Urban to get a TV job than a coaching job again. See, I disagree with that. I think big new kickoff.
Oh,
Don't
man,
kick
have
Stoops to
him.
the stoop.
No,
kid afraid to leave his
both
stoop
up there.
That's true.
They're both up there.
The stoop kick can come off his stoop then. So
Stoops and him up there. 2 Ohio guys up there, bannering, talking about defense, talking about offense left and right. Combating with everything that ESPN has on and everything like that. You can get that gig real quick.
And by the way, this whole thing, like ESPN, they could sit on their high horse and say, we wouldn't hire him. He don't want you. That's like me saying some really, really hot chick, I don't want to be with her. Well, she don't want to be with me.
She already had ESPN.
Yeah. ESPN, and by the way, and all these sports media outlets, they're a bunch of hypocrites as well. I'm watching that Sunday morning for the Patriots and the Buccaneers, the pregame coverage. ESPN, who just is so disgusted with people like the New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft. You know who was up on their desktop on their desk, face all over ESPN. They all love him then. They have no problem with him then. That's what I mean by yesterday. We pick and choose when we want to be outraged. And I think that's what's going on with this Urban Meyer thing. That's just me. All right. We'll be back in a moment. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Thursday. We can talk injuries in the NFL. Yeah, let's talk Browns Bengals. That's what we're doing.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 75. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low near 64. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high around 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
You love Zoom for video meetings? Now, choose Zoom to power your phone communications too. Zoom Phone works seamlessly within the Zoom app as your business phone system. Zoom Phone's secure HD audio and enterprise-grade reliability keep you connected to your teams and your customers. And it's easy to use on mobile, desktop, or desk phone. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Zoom, how the world connects.
Are you one of the millions of homeowners who haven't refinanced yet? If so, I'm here to tell you it's not too late. Hi, I'm Wesley Hogan with Westland Financial. Although the lowest rates may be in our rearview mirror, as the economy recovers from the biggest economic shock of our lifetime, rates still remain near historic lows. In fact, with the dramatic increase in home values, this may be the perfect time to put that new home equity to work. Take advantage of our cash out refi program and pay off high-rate credit cards, car loans, or other high-interest rate debt. Or finally make those home improvements you put on hold for so long. Best of all, we can do this with no closing costs. That's right. Whether it's a conventional, FHA, or VA loan, we'll pay for your title, settlement, lender, and recording fees. So call Westland at 888-455-3669. That's 888-455-3669. It's the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind. 888-455-3669.
Paid for by Westland Financial. NMLS number 3304. Not all loans apply. Equal housing lender.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole in one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Companies. If you thought you missed your chance to refinance and save, think again. Mortgage rates have recently dropped below 3%, and Rocket Mortgage can help you save big. You could lower your monthly payment and prepare yourself for a better financial future. But you've got to act now. Call us today at 833-8ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Conditions apply. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
We're a farm store, a family store, a look what I found store. We're a store made for real people and some real beasts. We're a hey neighbor kind of store and an everyday low price store. We're Rural King, and we're working hard to be your favorite store. Now through October 9th, stop in and get your carving pumpkins 2 for $7 and enjoy cans of Folgers Classic Roast Coffee for $6.99. Stock up today.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal picture for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nacho Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Call It Propane has been serving the Buckeye Nation in the Miami Valley for over 65 years.
Let our family help protect your family from old man winter. Find out why 98% of our customers would recommend us to friends and family. Ask about the service options at 937-372-9194.
Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Call It Propane and Call It Seal Coating are proud to serve the Buckeye Nation.
Hi, this is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep your home comfort system running smoothly and efficiently with regular checkups from Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. Butler has been proudly serving the Miami Valley since 1949. Don't wait until your equipment breaks. Call Butler today at 937-253-8871. That's 937-253-8871. Go Butler and go Bucks.
At CDW, we get the right network makes remote locations seem less remote.
Great, because my data is lagging out here.
CDW can orchestrate the Aruba Edge Services platform, bringing computing closer to where data is created. It automates, unifies, and secures the edge, fixing problems before they impact your business, giving your network a sixth sense. Someone at the door?
Just a moose. He works here.
Aruba and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/Aruba.
Attorney Joe Cordell. New school, new job, new home. Change is hard and can leave you feeling isolated. And divorce delivers one of life's hardest blows. The relationships you counted on are suddenly gone. But you don't have to walk through this alone. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has guided men through the challenges of divorce. You're not alone. Call Cordell & Cordell. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we're back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash hanging out with you here. How about this NBA story, Kev?
Which one?
Former NBA players, 13 of them to be exact, or 18, I'm sorry, got some jail time coming. Former NBA players charged in $4 million healthcare fraud scheme. It says 18 former NBA players have been charged with defrauding the league's health and welfare benefit plan out of about $4 million. According to an indictment Thursday in New York, federal prosecutors planned a news conference to describe the case that was brought in Manhattan federal court. By late morning, 16 of the defendants were in custody. There's some big names on this list, Kevin. I mean, Big Baby Davis. Remember him? Speaking of LSU. Remember Darius Miles?
Yes, sir.
I love Darius Miles. He I was going to say, like, Darius Miles going back to them Ricky Davis days. I'll never forget Ricky Davis when he did the
layup,
triple double. Oh, so many people were angry. I'm like, good for him. Good for him. You got nothing else to play. Ricky Davis is like, look, I'm always going to be known as playing for this joke of an organization. They knew LeBron was coming in, the savior, right? good for Ricky Davis. But the 18 players were among 19 individuals, Kev, charged in this indictment. It said that the scheme was carried out from at least 2017 to 2020. This is like a recent thing.
Mm-hmm.
When the plan received false claims totaling about $4 million, of that, the defendants received about $2.5 million in fraudulent proceeds. At least 10 of the former players paid kickbacks totaling about $230,000 to Williams. Now, again, we're talking about trying to find the names on this list because there was a lot of them on there. Tony Allen.
Yep.
And he was a popular dude. I mean, it just doesn't matter about who you are as a person, but Tony Allen, Glenn Big Baby Davis.
I don't see Tony Allen on the list that I got, but go ahead.
All those among charged was Tony Allen, a 6-time all-defensive team selection.
I see it now.
With the Celtics, of course. Another former Sebastian Telfair. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of high school, he was supposed to be the next big thing out of high school as well. Glenn Davis, Melvin Ely, Shannon Brown played for the Cavaliers for a while.
Yep. Former Laker.
Yep. And then there was some others from that Lakers team as well. But those are just a few of the names that were on that list. But I found that interesting.
I mean, Ruben Patterson. From Cleveland, Ohio, played at UC. You know, it's a lot of guys on here, a lot of names that you definitely recognize. I remember Terrence Williams. He played for Louisville back when Louisville was in the Big East and everything like that. You talked about Jamario Moon. Like, he was a former Cleveland Cavalier. Like, it's a lot of names on here. Will the Thrill Bynum from Chicago. It's a lot of guys on here, man. And this ain't no joke, man. This is no joke. When the feds get involved, the alphabet boys get involved, they don't miss too often, man.
But and this is what's so stupid. And like, again, I'm not urging people to commit crimes, but if you're going to commit crime, the payoff better be worth the time. Like, you're basically, if you're going to pull off something like this, that money coming in better be so worth it to you that you're saying, well, if I get caught, oh, well, it's worth it, because if I don't get caught, it's, you know, if you 18 players, if you go back and total their total career earnings, 18 players for $4 million, which, you know, Kenner has so much money, we're giving out $1,000 a day of Kenner's money. So that's not a lot of money to me, but to you common folk out there, by the way, I'm joking, folks, don't ever misconstrue that, by the way. But anyways, right? Like, Kev, like, these morons are going to go to jail over $4 million between 18 millionaire NBA athletes, all within from 2017 to 20, all guys who played within the span. Darius Miles goes back, you know, years and years, but of course the scheme started as of late, which I could maybe, Darius Miles has been out of the league a long time. I could see why maybe he's getting caught up in a scheme like this, but you have guys fresh out of the league. Mm-hmm. Tony Allen got a couple nice contracts towards the end. He was a defensive specialist, played on the championship team. I just don't get it, man. I don't understand these guys at all for this, you know. Now, if we're talking each of these guys came away with $15-20 million, okay, I could see why you're trying to fraud them out of that. But you divide that $4 million between the 18 guys, you're willing to go to prison over less than $1 million each? I don't get it. So apparently Kenner just admitted that he's willing to go to prison if it's over $1 million. There you go. Oh well,
man, this is sticky, man. This is sticky, and it seems very convoluted. Like, I wonder, like, how these conversations go, like, in the locker room. Or, I mean, obviously, according to this article on ESPN, Terrence Williams was like kind of like the guy that started it and like kind of like passed the information along to everybody else, kind of like.
So it's like a pyramid scheme, you know? It's like the episode of The Office, right?
Talking about if you go to this dentist to go get a root canal, you get a kickback, and it's like, man, like, it just seems very convoluted because, yeah, a lot of these guys played in the NBA for a very long time, but other guys have played overseas for a long time. And, you know, I have personal friends that played overseas who make a great living for themselves overseas and come back home to the States and everything like that. And they're good. So I don't understand I take that back. People love money, man. That's all it is, man. People think this type of stuff is a victimless crime. And they're like, oh, man, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just getting some extra money. If this is what I got to do, I'll do it. Or this will cover my mortgage or something for a couple months or something like that. That's how some people think, man. So it's dumb. It's dumb to roll the dice like that, especially now that you got busted. Like I said, when the feds get involved, if I could whistle, I will whistle.
Speaking of money, Kenner is giving away $1,000 a day. It's the Kinder's Cash $1,000 a day giveaway cash contest. All you have to do is be listening 12 times throughout the day, starting at 7 a.m. all the way up till 6 p.m. Giving out a winning word once an hour. When you hear that winning word, you take it to wingam.com and you enter it. It's the Kinder's Cash. It's the Kinder's Cash $1,000 a day giveaway contest at wingam.com. Your winning word for this hour: Ewers. Quinn Ewers, future Texas quarterback. I don't see him playing at Ohio State. Go to wingam.com and enter the word Ewers, E-W-E-R-S. All winning words will be the names of players and coaches that we talk about a lot here on the show. Be listening for players' names, of course, from the Bengals, the Browns, the Buckeyes, so on and so on. The Wright State Raiders, the Dayton Flyers, and so on. But we had Ryan Day last hour. Enter Day, D-A-Y, or Ewers, E-W-E-R-S at wingam.com. The 3 p.m. hour was Day. The 4 p.m. hour was Ewers. And we'll have the 5 o'clock winning word coming up for you here just under an hour from now. So head to wingam.com and enter Ewers, E-W-E-R-S, for your chance to win $1,000. I have so much money, I don't know what to do with, so I'm just giving it away. I'm mocking the contest as well, folks.
No, you don't say.
It doesn't really matter what it's called. The point is we're giving you $1,000 a day. Just go enter the winning word at wingam.com so that when my boss sees all the people going to our website, they're like, okay, the Kinner guy, he's doing pretty good. He should give away his money more often. I'm just saying. I'm making so much money. Okay. Ewers, E-W-E-R-S. Enter it at wingam.com. Let's talk a little transfer portal to close this out. I promise you, we're opening up the 5 o'clock hour with some NFL talk. Injuries are going to be the headline for both the Bengals-Packers matchup on Sunday, as well as the Browns and the Chargers matchup. We'll talk about how significant those injuries are that are impacting the Bengals roster and the Browns roster. We'll get to that coming up here 10 minutes from now. The NCAA Division I Council, Kev, has approved a waiver to help college football teams replace transfers. Now, again, we've talked a lot about the impact of the transfer portal on college athletics and how it could be beneficial to the players, but it could be debilitating to a lot of these programs who it's hard. A lot of times coaches are so detail-oriented, Kev, that the way they approach recruiting, they know and have an idea of what they want their roster to look like years and years out. You know how for control freaks like head coaches to lose control of that, like they don't even know what their roster is going to look like 365 days from now, much less 5 years from now. That's kind of hard to do. When you're recruiting, it's kind of hard to recruit to a plan when that plan could be scrapped at any second, because you think you have for basketball purposes, you may think you have your starting 5 figured out for the next 4 or 5 years. That's not true anymore. You have to almost hit the reset button every year and a half, basically, with what your 5 is going to look like, guys coming off the bench. In football, it's even worse. We're not talking about just starters. We're talking about depth at certain positions. We're talking about multiple positions. Like, it's insane. So, looking to address, according to the Associated Press, Kev, looking to address the growing number of transfers, the NCAA Division I Council has approved a 1-year waiver Tuesday. This is impacting college football, Kev, that will allow college football teams to sign up to 7 players to replace those who leave. So what that means is let's say that 16 players transfer from Ohio State. And now that's 16 players that Ohio State has to replace and then go through the appeal process of trying to get those guys eligible to be able to play right away. What they're saying is okay. And again, there's the big picture, there's the big rules too, where you do get that one transfer. But if you do get a transfer to come in, it's automatically waived. They can pick up to 7 players to automatically waive that transfer, situation. I find that's interesting because we knew we could only go so long before teams started to get some kind of policies made for them to help them out. Coaches, you're not recruiting 4 years out anymore. It's year by year. It's going to push a lot of good coaches out of the game. And I think it's already done. It's impacted basketball. We've already said goodbye to 2 of the most legendary basketball coaches in the history of college basketball. The Coach K Tour is about to start here in just a couple of weeks. We haven't seen it push football coaches out yet, but that'll be the demise of Nick Saban. I guarantee it. Eventually, these coaches who have done this for so long are going to say, yeah, I'm not doing this. I've recruited you once. I'm not going to over-recruit you again. You either want to play here or you don't. And that may sound like a good, tough leadership quality in a coach, but these coaches aren't going to beg you to stay. And if they don't beg you to stay, you're going to lose games, and then that's going to push them out either way. I find this interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the guys that are starters, they're not going to be transferring. It's the guys in the backup, and that's what makes the Alabamas, Ohio States, and Clemson's and Georgia so good. It's that depth. It's that depth. That's the fact that, like, all right, we can lose a starter and plug in another guy, and he performs just as well as the starter does. And the teams like a la UC, and I always bring this up, well, I've been bringing it up since that Sugar Bowl loss, they were dominating Georgia in the run game. As soon as that left tackle got kicked out the game for that bonehead penalty, the backup came in there and wet himself. And several false starts, several holding penalties. They were at 1st and 5 almost every single drive the rest of that game when the backup came in. But what you have at Alabama, Ohio State, is backups that are capable, backups that are highly recruited as well. So that's what's going to happen. Like, those backups are going to, do their due diligence and try their hardest, yada, 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 to try to play ball at the school of their choice. And they're not going to get it, and they're going to go somewhere else. And they're not going to be begged by the coach to stay, because you know why? Just like Lane Kiffin said, Alabama and Ohio State, they had to pick of the litter. Like, oh, all right, the backup want to leave and go to so-and-so state? Well, we can go ahead and go like Ohio State did. We basically handpicked the guy from Rutgers who was a NFL draft pick. Say, hey, you want to play for Rutgers or you want to play for Ohio State? You're a one-time fifth-year senior. You come in here, plug you right in. Oh, boom. You went from a 4th-round grade to a 3rd-round grade by coming to our program, getting bigger, stronger, and better coaching at Ohio State. So those teams, they're just going to be handpicking left and right. So I don't necessarily think it's going to run those guys out. I think they're going to adapt like they always do. And the winners are just going to continue to win because that's what this game is about. It's about being able to adapt. And nobody has adapted better to college football the way it's changed over the years than Nick Saban. I mean, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's how they were winning national championships before. Now they're winning national championships, airing the ball out. You know what I'm saying? So I think he can stick around. I don't think he'll retire because of this. I think he'll retire because he just ain't got the fire no more, or age catches up to him. I don't think this will be the reason why he retires. I think he's that good of a coach that he can adapt to basically anything.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Hour number 2 in the books. We already gave you our winning word for the Kinner's Cash $1,000 a day giveaway cash contest. Enter yours, EWERS, at wingam.com. So the Bengals and the Packers, big game this coming up Sunday. The Cincinnati Bengals are off to a 3-1 start, and there's been a lot of chirp and there's a lot of confidence. And by the way, even a hater like me can appreciate a fan base that is having fun watching their team win games, because the one thing I can't say is, well, they're no good. They're not winning games. They're winning the games that they should. They could be 4-0. The Cincinnati Bengals have had a fun opening month to the season. Does that fun end on Sunday? We'll talk about why that could potentially be the case, and it's not just because of how good the Packers are. It could be because some key pieces might be missing for the Bengals on Sunday. Plus the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield, he hasn't looked like himself. Look, I think I've said this before. Baker Mayfield has limitations when he's 100%. But if he's not 100%, that's a problem. And the Cleveland Browns, their passing game has been taking a hit as of late. It's because of an injury to the shoulder of Baker Mayfield. How will that impact the decision-making of Kevin Stefanski moving forward? We'll get to all of that as we kick things off here in the 5 o'clock hour. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash continues next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Hello, I'm Clerk of Court Rob Scott, serving Kettering, Centerville, Moraine, and Washington Township. From October 18th to October 29th, you can come to Kettering Municipal Court and pay off half your fines and costs, and the other half will be waived. There is nothing to fear. Come pay off half your fee.
This is brought to you by Rob Scott, Clerk of Court. Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Oktoberfest at Milano's has begun. We're serving our once-a-year favorites like schnitzel sandwiches and German pizza. Get it to go or stay for the games with NFL Sunday Ticket. See you at Milano's Pizza, Subs, and Taps for big screen football.
Don't go it alone in your job search. It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Find the location near you at expresspros.com. No fees for job seekers. expresspros.com.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Hey, Buckeye fans, as the official wing sponsor of your Ohio State Buckeyes, Roosters is giving away 12 trips for 2 to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with airfare, hotel, gift bag, and 2 tickets to the big game. One bowl prize winner chosen each week, along with other cool Roosters weekly prizes. So register every week at roosterswings.com. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Official contest rules at roosterswings.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
So as you guys know, Mark's gone. The float artist at Fred's Floral just took off days before the parade. They need a replacement before business passes them by.
And who am I going to get to finish the float?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Fall savings inside the Home Depot means something different once you get out there, do it. For example, in here, it's a wide selection of top-rated appliances. But out there, it's your home, running like a well-oiled machine. Order in store or use one-click bundling when you order online or in the Home Depot app. Shop the lowest prices of the season and enjoy free and flexible delivery on orders of $396 or more. At the Home Depot, how doers get more done. U.S. only. While supplies last, valid September 30th through October 20th.
Homestead Feed and Supply is proud to introduce a new product line straight from Texas. Stock Show Secret products and Flex Appeal. Make your project look the best. Only available at Homestead Feed and Supply. New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
We're live. We're local. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Hour number 3, we're off and rolling here on a Thursday. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, follow the show page, and of course, you could watch the show weekdays live there on that page from 3 to 6 p.m. For those of you on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel as well. You can also watch us there as well as watch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. And then, of course, we put select segments and interviews and stuff like that. So make sure you go and check that out on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, The Justin Kinner Show, on Facebook as well. Yeah, I can't believe, by the way, college basketball tips off in here in a few weeks. How crazy is that? Like that, by the way, Eric Horseman and the Flying to the Hoop High School Basketball Showcase, they released their schedule, so we'll get to that around the corner as well and kind of highlight some of those top matchups. Yeah, by the way, I'm glad we're getting that back too.
Absolutely. High school hoops, baby.
All right, so I want to open up with this here as we kick things off this hour. It's interesting, big picture, when you look at the season as a whole for both the Browns and the Bengals. Two different teams, vastly different expectations. Right now, Cleveland's at the point when you start hearing the criticism of the Browns, it's a lot different than the criticism of the Bengals. The Bengals are enjoying what the Browns got to enjoy last year, where when they win, it's like, oh, wow, the Browns are winning. They're winning games. Oh, my goodness. And when they're winning games, no one's nitpicking how they're winning games. They're winning games, and that's all that matters. That's the Cincinnati Bengals this year. I know I throw my little jabs here and there in, but right now all that matters is that the Cincinnati Bengals, who have lost a ton of games, since they started that actually, I don't even think the Bengals truly intended to start a rebuild. I just think they became so bad that there was only one place to go, and that was up. Kev, do you agree? Like that year they went 1-15 to get the Joe Burrow pick. That wasn't a rebuilding year. That just wasn't a good year. Like there are some teams who go all out to tank. Mm-hmm. The Dolphins tanked. A lot of teams, the Jaguars tanked. The Bengals didn't tank. The Bengals were just bad. And then it snowballed. The injuries snowballed them into that number 1 overall pick. Then everyone's like, oh man, they're rebuilding. They're getting Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow fell in their lap because that last year with Andy Dalton, that should have been about a 5-6 win team. They would have been picking right there in the middle of the pack. They didn't head into that season thinking we got to blow for Joe. Like we got to, no, that was not the case. It's vastly different. But right now it felt like they're coming out on the other side of a rebuild and they're winning games. No one's nitpicking how they're doing it. No one's looking at how they're doing it. It's just that they're winning games. The Browns, on the other hand, when they win games, it's, man, their defense is looking really, really good. But now we got to nitpick this. Now I nitpick everything. That's just how I am. But big picture, it's like Cleveland's at the point now where there's still questions that need to be answered. How do they play when they're trailing games? Can they, they've won a game this past weekend with probably one of the worst quarterback performances in Browns history, which is saying a lot considering all the bad quarterbacks that they've had. Baker, his worst game as a pro this past Sunday, absolutely atrocious. They still won a game. Kudos to the Browns because I can't believe they win a game with a quarterback playing as poorly as Baker did. No excuses about it. It is fun, though. Both teams 3-1, but it's totally different how they're being perceived, Kev, because Cleveland's being judged differently. Oh, they're winning games. Well, they're supposed to. Cleveland's picked to be a Super Bowl contender. You're supposed to win games. People are looking at what's going to keep them from winning it all. Cincinnati, they're technically not supposed to win a lot of games. So the fact that they're 3-1, they're just being praised because they're 3-1. Two different teams, two different situations, both 3-1 though.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about Baker and his performance, and we talked about this on Monday. It's coming out now that he does have a shoulder situation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. And his performance versus Minnesota was not good. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like, I could talk about like, oh man, like both teams kind of knew what the other one was doing, but he still missed wide open receivers. Like, butt naked open receivers. Like OBJ was open for at least 2 touchdowns or at least 2 huge gains that could have flipped field position and at least netted a field goal attempt and everything like that. Missed him wide open. Is that shoulder? Is that lack of reps with OBJ? We don't know what it is. Like that is a big question mark. And we were talking off mic about the whole situation with CJ Stroud. Like, amazing that he looks way more accurate now that shoulder looks like it's healed up. Had a week off, but like we talked about on Monday, there are no Kent States on the NFL schedule. Like, every game is a tough game. Like, this is the NFL. This is the best of the best. So either a situation is going to have to come up where he's going to have to take the needle and numb it up, so he can make some better passes, or he needs to sit down to get that shoulder situated so he can play like he played last season.
Yeah, and I want to get to the injuries and stuff in a moment, but just overall the differences in how the teams are perceived, though. Like Cleveland at 3-1 and Cincinnati at 3-1, they're still not being viewed as the same type of teams at 3-1 because of preseason expectations, offseason expectations coming in. So with Cincinnati coming up with Green Bay, this is one of those, like, are we looking at a Arkansas, Georgia type situation where Arkansas is this surprise team that's won a lot of games and wow, they found themselves in a big game with Georgia, and it's like, holy smokes, we got a big SEC matchup, Arkansas and Georgia, let's go, here we go. I feel like that's what this is with the Packers and the Bengals, where you have a team in the Bengals that's off to a hot start. They could be 4-0. They should be 4-0. They should have beat the Bears, but they didn't, so they're 3-1. And it's like, oh, man, we got a big matchup. The 3-1 Packers, the 3-1 Bengals. Like, this is huge. Joe Burrow against Aaron Rodgers. I have a feeling we're going to see what we saw between Arkansas and Georgia, where the storyline was cute, the buildup was cute, but then when you put the overall talent or lack thereof on the field together, Green Bay is going to stand out. I just think this is going to be an interesting matchup because if Cincinnati even plays them close, that's going to say a ton. Cincinnati doesn't have to win on Sunday to make believers out of the rest of the NFL country right now. Like, if Aaron Rodgers has to work 4 full quarters to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, we're going to be coming out next Monday saying Cincinnati can go toe-to-toe with the best of them, with any of them. Cincinnati has not played a good team yet to this point. This will be the first good team that they play. If they lose by one possession, Kev, they're set. My view will change. I'm not saying my view will change to the point that I think they're a playoff team. My view will just change as far as the pieces that are being put together for how they're going to compete big picture. And I think that's going to be key against the Packers coming up. It's going to be tough. They're going to be without, I mean, this hasn't been ruled out, but Joe Mixon hasn't participated in practice. Trey Waynes is a little beat up. They're just beat up right now.
Well, Trey Waynes ain't been playing for the Cincinnati Bengals since he signed there, so that won't hurt him.
Well, last week, but
I think that was his first game.
Yeah, it was. He made his debut last week, but like, they need everyone out there. They need Bates. They need everybody out there ready to go. Especially on the defensive side. It's one thing to be without Mixon, but I think they need as much talent on the defensive side to go up against Aaron Rodgers more so than that, because the Packers, they don't give up a ton of touchdowns, but they're ranked 6th in the NFL right now in total defense as far as yards given up and scoring and all that. The Bengals aren't going to score at ease, but I think the Bengals are a type of offense that if they protect Burrow, which they have done the last couple of weeks, they look like an unstoppable offense, because it's not just about the attack down the field that they have with Jamar Chase. It's a lot of crossing routes. It's a lot. I mean, they're going to dink and dunk and with the best of them. It's a huge opportunity. The Bengals don't even have to win on Sunday to get the attention nationally right now. I think that they'll be put on the map on Sunday if they can compete with the Packers. I compared it to that Arkansas-Georgia thing over this past weekend. I don't think that's what we're going to see, but it wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden we go out there, the Packers, who are only a 3-point favorite right now, I could see them blowing the Bengals out, but I could also see if Cincinnati plays the way they did in the second half against Jacksonville, it could be a toe-for-toe match at that point.
Green Bay just signed Jalen Smith, got released by the Cowboys and everything like that. Add back to that linebacker core. I know they're kind of beat up there, and they're also kind of beat up in the secondary, so that's why I do think it's going to be kind of one of those shootout games, one of those mid-30-point games between the Bengals and Green Bay. The biggest thing, obviously, is to protect Joe Burrow. And I think they can do that because the strength of Green Bay's defense isn't necessarily a pass rush. I know everybody looked at last week at the jailbreak that was happening on the Steelers' offensive line, but it was so many plays to be had downfield. Ben just missed them because his arm is a noodle now. So we know Joe Burrow, his number one thing is accuracy. He's a very accurate quarterback. So I don't see him missing those throws if they're there for him to make like Ben was. So I think this is going to be a shootout.
518-1410. We'll transition to the Cleveland side in just a moment. But Bengals fans, I'm curious hearing from you. 518-1410. Your thoughts and feelings heading into this matchup with the Packers on Sunday. What do the Bengals have to do to get the rest of the NFL world's attention? Do they have to win on Sunday to get the rest of the NFL world's attention? Do they just have to play the Packers close? What do the Bengals have to do on Sunday to get the rest of the NFL world's attention? Because right now, I still hear it in all the national coverage of the Bengals when it comes to, oh, they're just the Bengals. They're not that good. Oh, they only beat the Jaguars this past. A lot of the same stuff I've said, but at the same time, We know that the NFL doesn't operate like college, where it's not so much about, who you play. It's about how you play, and the way that the Bengals have played. They've played winning football to start. What do the Bengals have to do to get the attention of all the critics out there, including myself? We'll talk about that on the other side. Plus, we'll talk a little Baker Mayfield. Kev, you touched on the shoulder injury and how that's impacting that. If the Browns offense continues to struggle moving forward, I don't blame Baker Mayfield. I'll tell you who I blame on the other side. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 75. Tonight will also be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low near 64. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high around 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
Hi, this is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep your home comfort system running smoothly and efficiently with regular checkups from Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. Butler has been proudly serving the Miami Valley since 1949. Don't wait until your equipment breaks. Call Butler today at 937-253-8871. That's 937-253-8871. Go Butler and go Bucks.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazer Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazer Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty, so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glazersoftwater.com. Glazer Water really is better water.
Running a small business means just that, always running.
Woo, you're not kidding.
Which is why this holiday, while the other guys, not mentioning any names, are kicking it back, we'll be kicking it into gear by leaving our doors open for you. So whatever the ing you need this holiday, whether it's packing, shipping, or mailboxing, we'll be right here waiting.
Now that's an ing worth celebrating.
The UPS Store, every ing for small business, all in one place.
The UPS Store.
The UPS Store locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours may vary. See Center for details.
Save today on your next project with 11% off everything now at Menards. Dutch Boy Platinum Plus Paint and Primer in One features Stain Shield technology, providing up to 50% more stain resistance and washability. Save today with 11% off all Dutch Boy interior paint. Get 11% off everything right now at Menards. Good through Saturday, October 9th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Now at Lowe's, order any flooring like Stainmaster Pet Protect carpet, starting at $185 per square foot. See in-store associate or product detail page for warranty information.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
So, what are you sipping?
Whether it's our freshly ground coffee to wake you up or an icy Polar Pop cup or Froster to keep you going, our new Sip and Save drink subscription at Circle K will keep you refreshed every day. Join Circle K's Sip and Save and grab any size drink every day for just $5.99 a month. Yeah. Start sipping and saving today. Just sign up with your mobile number when you check out at Circle K. Limited time offer at participating locations.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice cold domestic draft personal pitchers for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nacho Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
All right, we're back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on a Thursday. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. So this article came out earlier today. And bear with me, too, as we're having internet issues. So I'm trying to get everything, in paper form in front of me as opposed to, trusting on a Wi-Fi connection. It was an article came out earlier today about the severity of the injury that Baker Mayfield is fighting through this season. Now, I give him a ton of credit. It's reported that he tore his labrum in his non-throwing shoulder, and he's been playing and fighting through that since week 2, where he injured his shoulder against the Houston Texans. Now, the reason this is of significance is because even though as much as I love Baker Mayfield and all I do is, I'm his biggest fan here locally, of course, all I do is give praise to Baker Mayfield. Even I know, as big of a Baker Mayfield and Cleveland Browns fan as I am, Baker Mayfield has limitations at 100%. There's limitations. There's a ceiling for Baker Mayfield that he may have reached already, but there are a lot of limitations on what Baker can and cannot do when he's 100%. So anything less than 100% of Baker Mayfield then becomes a problem. Now, the Cleveland Browns have a backup quarterback situation that is arguably the best in the entire National Football League. Case Keenum can start for probably a good 10-plus teams in the National Football League right now if they needed one. He's a starter. He's not a great starter, but you could argue he's Baker Mayfield. I'm higher on Baker Mayfield than most people, but I'm also not dumb to look at the numbers and to listen to the analysis of Baker to know that he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Patrick Mahomes. If Joe Burrow keeps this up, he may not even be Joe Burrow, and that makes me want to vomit just even uttering those words. Okay, I could be realistic. Baker Mayfield, so much has to go right for Baker Mayfield to be the best that he can be, which allows the Browns to be the best that they can be. So when Baker's not 100% and he's having to overcompensate with certain motions, they can't do it. They've noticed they haven't been doing as much play action. They haven't been rolling out to his left. Baker was at his best when he was able, under center, play action, roll into his left, which is a weird trait to have for a quarterback. I mean, for him to be good rolling to his left is pretty impressive, actually. They're not doing any of that because they can't, because of his shoulder. So Baker this past weekend, I'm furious. They won the game. Super. They're not going to win a lot. He does that again, they'll get blitzed by 50 if he pulls that crap again on Sunday. I'm mad at Baker Mayfield, or I was mad at Baker Mayfield. And then this report comes out today from Bray, Ohio, that the Cleveland Browns quarterback has been playing with a partially torn labrum. Berea, whatever. Who cares? I just was reading what was in front of me. Berea. Where the hell's Berea? Is that
yes.
That's Cleveland? Why can't they just say Cleveland?
Because it's not Cleveland.
Well,
it's in the sticks.
Anyways, Cleveland. Shut up, Kev.
You know where I'm going to go. Yeah. Continue.
Baker Mayfield has been playing with a partially torn labrum in his left shoulder, a source confirmed to ESPN on Thursday. Now, Baker Mayfield hurt, goes out, plays. No problem with that. Players want to play injured. They always feel that they can go out there and play. Baker Mayfield is doing what every other athlete in the world, every athlete thinks that they can go out and play injured. That's duh. But sometimes it shouldn't be up to the player if they want to go out and play injured and play hurt. Sometimes there has to be an adult in the room that says, hey, sir, I got to make the decision that is best for the team. And I don't think you being on that football field right now is what's best for the team. Like, I don't know if there's excuse making going on. Is Baker just that bad, or is he bad because of the injury? I would like to think, after what we saw last year, that what we have seen recently of Baker's struggles in the past game have come from the fact that there's no Jarvis Landry. We're only 2 games in to OBJ returning, to the fact, you know what I mean? Like, there's some of those chemistry issues out on the field. I'm trying to remain positive and say, yeah, that's what it is. There's a part of me that's actually hoping Baker's struggles are injury related because we could at least pinpoint it. I'm of the mindset that there's always going to be problems in life. And as long as we know what the problems are stemming from and how to fix them, I'm okay with those problems. The scary problems in life are, I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why that's the way it is. That's just bad. I don't know how to fix it. That's the scary thing for me for Baker Mayfield. Is that game that we just saw this past Sunday, is that always in him? Every Sunday, every kickoff, is that who I have to worry about being the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns who have a Super Bowl caliber roster? That's concerning. I defend Baker a lot. I can't keep defending that. So I really hope that what we saw this past Sunday was injury related, and that moves me to my next point. If Baker Mayfield goes out and sucks it up against the Chargers, I'm not going to be mad at Baker Mayfield, because if it is because of this injury, there's only one person to blame, and that's Kevin Stefanski. The coach has to be the adult in the room. The coach has to protect the player from himself at times. And if I'm Kevin Stefanski, how you can watch what you saw this past Sunday, and good for Kevin Stefanski, who got bailed out, by the way, because they won the game. How they won that game, I have no freaking idea. Your quarterback was garbage. Maybe his fault. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's the injury. But until they come out and say he's struggling because of this injury, if you're on the field, I'm going to assess you for you being on the field. Like, that's what I don't like excuses. Oh, Baker's struggling because he's hurt. Well, if he's hurt, then get the hell off the field. Because if you are hurt and it's impacting how you produce for your team, you're not doing the team any favors. I can respect your toughness, but I could also be annoyed that your talent is not good enough when you're injured to win this team games. Oh, but they won this past Sunday. You want to keep rolling that dice and keep having performances like that and see how many games the Browns win moving forward? Kevin Stefanski, if Baker Mayfield is actually hurt, and that is what is keeping him from playing at his highest level, every time Baker overthrows an open receiver, every time he underthrows a wide open receiver, every time he misses OBJ in the end zone, every time a play is broken up because of a boneheaded play by Baker Mayfield, it's not on Baker Mayfield. It's on Kevin Stefanski. You pay $6 million a year to Case Keenum, get Case Keenum in that ball game. Protect Baker Mayfield from himself. Protect this loaded Super Bowl caliber roster from the toughness of Baker Mayfield, as crazy as that sounds. I respect the hell out of him for wanting to go out there. You know what I want to have on Monday? I want to be talking about a blow up on the sideline that Baker Mayfield's pissed off because Kevin Stefanski won't let him out on the field. Because what that says to me, Stefanski's putting his foot down saying, I'm the coach. I'm the captain of the ship now. That's what I want Kevin Stefanski to do. Like that. What was that movie with
Captain Phillips?
The Captain Phillips. I want him to pull I'm the captain of the ship now. I make this decision. You're sitting. You're hurt. You're hurting our team. I want Case Keenum in there. This isn't a who's better, Case Keenum or Baker Mayfield. This is a simple situation of your quarterback's injured. He is not himself. It's no different than in baseball. Do you want 80% of your ace out there? No, you want the 100%, because when your ace isn't 100%, he's not your ace. And that's Baker Mayfield right now. He's your ace. Is he the best ace in football? No. He's your ace, and he has to be 100% to be what Cleveland needs him to be, and he's not 100%. If that's the case, if he just sucked this past Sunday and it had nothing to do with the shoulder, that's on Baker Mayfield. He sucked so bad this past Sunday. If it was because of the shoulder, that's on Kevin Stefanski. And if they get blown out on Sunday by the Chargers, which is a good chance that could happen if Baker plays like he did against Minnesota, if it's bad performances because of that shoulder, Kev, that's not on Baker Mayfield. That officially becomes on Kevin Stefanski. It's not like you have a bad backup quarterback. You have arguably a backup quarterback that a lot of coaches around the NFL would love to have as their starter right now. I'm curious your thoughts. Do you agree? I blame Kevin Stefanski for the Browns' struggles offensively, if that's the case.
Yeah, when you're injured, And I mean, especially if you're throwing shoulder as a quarterback, like there's really nothing you can do. We saw this with CJ Stroud, overthrowing dudes, missing routine throws, and that's exactly what we saw from Baker Mayfield ever since that game versus Houston. You and I talked about it the next day. Like that arm was hanging. It was hanging.
Noodle arm.
Yeah, then they put him in a sling and everything like that, and it just been off. He's been off, missing dudes wide open. We talked about the OBJ streaking down the sidelines, and he's missing them and everything like that. It has to be an injury thing because he didn't do that versus Kansas City. He wasn't doing that early on against Houston. He did that later on in the Houston game. And then now, Landry's gone and, he's out there with a lot of young receivers. And then the OBJ gets back and everything like that. So it has to be the shoulder. Like that's the common denominator, him getting hurt and his accuracy plummeted. Like there was a time where he was like completing like 80% of his passes.
Of it, yeah. And that's the first 2 weeks in.
And now he's not. And the common denominator is him getting hit on that shoulder. This is football. People are going to get banged up. Like people are going to go out there with nicks and bumps and bruises and be banged up and everything like that. It's about pain management. And is that pain management to the point where, all right, you can handle the pain, but your performance isn't matching that. So we got to let you get some rest. So it's really up to coach to figure out what he wants to do. Because, I mean, we can take a look at this Chargers defense, man. This is the best defense they going up against all season. The Bears have a great defense and everything like that, but this Chargers defense is something else. I mean, obviously we know all about Bosa and everything like that, being Buckeye fans and everything like that. But Derwin James being there, that's a whole different animal. Like that's a whole different ball of wax. That dude can go hash with the best of them. You know what I'm saying? And get some picks and lay some big hits and everything like that. And if your passes aren't on the money, he's going to get one. Or you're going to get somebody hurt. You're going to get a wide receiver hurt. They stretching out there, laying out there with their ribs out there. Derwin James going to lay the wood on somebody. So they're going to have to figure something out before 4 o'clock on Sunday.
518-1410, 518-1410. Browns fans, if they're Browns fans out there that want to call in to defend Stefanski, I just want to hear from the Browns fans as we step away for a few moments. What do you Browns fans make of this football? It doesn't have to just be Browns fans, football fans in general. What do you make of this? Like I said, if Baker's healthy, I can defend him. If Baker's healthy, I can't defend him is what I'm saying. I can't defend him. But if he is beat up and he's not performing well, that's on Kevin Stefanski for watching him struggle. Why Kevin Stefanski sat back and just watched him struggle the way he did and didn't make any adjustment? I don't know what to tell you.
All right, hang on.
I don't know what to tell you because that officially becomes on Kevin Stefanski. We're going to step away for 90 seconds. We'll take your phone calls. 518-1410. More of the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-838-9247. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-838-9247. 800-838-9247. That's 800-838-9247. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Whatever you're into, you'll find it at Audible. Listen to thrillers, motivation, comedy, and more with podcasts, bestsellers, and originals all in one app. Sign up and start free at audible.com.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
$518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. College Football Hall of Famer, make sure you hang out with him every Monday on the Keith Byers Show from noon to 1. In fact, Keith Byers will be on the road this coming up Monday. He'll be at in Miamisburg at West Columbia. Again, Springfield and Miamisburg will be our high school game of the week next week. So he'll be there to help promote that game. Again, Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken on West Columbia Street. So make sure you go and hang out with the College Football Hall of Famer. In fact, actually, I don't know what's allowed to be put out. He's going to be honored at a game coming up. I don't know if that's been put out yet, so I'm going to wait off on that to tell you which game. But because last year, Keith Byers is a part of the 2020 College Football Hall of Fame class, he didn't get to be honored for that last year for obvious reasons due to COVID, no fans at the stadium and everything. He'll be honored this year at an upcoming Buckeye game. He's told me the game. I just need to make sure that game has been solidified as that one. So I'll give you guys more information on that. But go hang out with Keith Monday at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken on West Columbia Street. Again, excited for that coming up around the corner. 518-1410. Baker Mayfield was just horrible this past Sunday. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, they did go on to beat the Minnesota Vikings, and a lot of that has to do with the run game of the Cleveland Browns, yes, and the defense. Now, that's the recipe to the success for when Baker Mayfield is healthy and playing at 100%, or playing at an elite level. When Baker Mayfield, who I believe is one of the is a top 10 quarterback, there's still a lot of things that have to go right for Baker Mayfield to be a top 10 quarterback. You look at Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a top 10 quarterback with or without help around him. Baker Mayfield's not Russell Wilson, okay? Baker Mayfield's not Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. All of those elite quarterbacks, they could be elite without help around them. That's not, we haven't seen that from Baker Mayfield yet. Maybe he has that in him, but what limitations we have seen is when there's a mess around him, it's not like he elevates that. He plays hard. His teammates love him. Coaches love him. The fans love him. But I'm realistic of that. So with that being said, when Baker Mayfield's 100%, 100% of things have to go right for him to be a top 10 quarterback. If he's anything less than 100%, those limitations become blown up even more, and that's a problem for Cleveland. I blame Kevin Stefanski because the report that came out today is that Baker Mayfield has a torn left labrum, which is his non-throwing shoulder, but that still impacts your overall, upper body movement. And there's a lot more. It's not just your throwing shoulder that is impact, or, your shoulder is hurt. Oh, he doesn't throw with that shoulder. Who cares? There's so much that goes into that injury. I don't think it's a coincidence why we've seen Baker struggle the last 2 weeks as opposed to what we saw the first 2 weeks. It's the injury. And, of course, they don't come out and say that he is too hurt to play, but obviously he's struggling, and we haven't seen him struggle like this throughout his whole NFL career. So there's only one thing that this can add up to, and it's that labrum on his left shoulder. That means every time the Browns struggle offensively moving forward, every overthrow, underthrow, missed receiver, everything that happens with Baker Mayfield in the passing game moving forward, that becomes a Kevin Stefanski blame game, issue. I blame him because you got to protect Baker from himself. And you can't tell me that Baker Mayfield at 80% is better than Case Keenum at 100%. Case Keenum suits this team more right now if the injury is what's keeping Baker back. They will get destroyed by the Chargers on Sunday if Baker Mayfield plays like he did against the Vikings. And if he plays like that because of his shoulder and Kevin Stefanski just leaves him out there to get punched around, that is on Kevin Stefanski, who I love, but I'm going to be very critical of how he's going to handle this situation. I hope Baker just had an off Sunday. I hope that was just an off day. Okay, everyone has those, but I don't think that's the case. Okay, we've seen Baker play too consistent for too long to have one of those type of games. What do you guys think? 518-1410. To the phones we go. Kev, I don't have my list in front of me. I'm sorry. Who we have up first?
We got Brandon online too.
Brandon, how are you, man? Lead us off. What do you think? How is Kevin Stefanski handling this situation properly?
First thing I want to say is I'm not a Cleveland Brown fan whatsoever.
Okay.
I think that Baker has earned the right. I mean, we don't see what goes on during the week. I mean, I'm sure Stefanski's watching him. I mean, this isn't high school. I mean, Baker has to know what his limitations are. He has to tell him. And also, if he has a bad game, I mean, you're putting him as a top 10. It's hard for me to find 22 quarterbacks that he's better than in the NFL.
That's fine. You don't know football. That's okay.
Well, no.
I'm joking, dude. I'm joking. I don't know you like that. I can't make jokes like that. I apologize.
Right. No, I got you, brother. But no, I'm just saying that I think that Stefanski knows that this team's put a lot of money. They put a lot of money into this team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Baker's been his guy. I mean, he's going to have to roll with his guy. And I think that Baker, you know, like it or love it, the team has gotten better over the last 3 years with him as their quarterback. The right to at least play this out until at least the break and see, you know, how bad they are. If they're at break and, you know, they get that week off and let's say they only got 2 losses and they're 5-2, I mean, you can't sit Baker down at that point. I mean, you know, this team was built to try to win a championship in the Baker style, not the Case Keenum style. And I think they should just roll with what they got. That's it.
Even if he's hurt, Brandon?
Depends on how hurt. I mean, he's hurt, but they did win the game. I mean, it's not like we never saw Tom Brady win by 7 and have a terrible game. It's not like we saw Peyton Manning win by 7 and have a bad game. It could have just been a bad game. It could have been him hurt. I mean, this team is built around running the ball and defense. It's not built around Baker throwing for 300, 400 yards. This isn't the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, fair enough. I like a non-Browns fan being optimistic there. I like that. Hey, take care, Brandon. I appreciate it.
All right.
518-1410. Now, Kev, what do you think? So Brandon just said, you know, Baker knows his limitations. This isn't a Baker thing. This is an athlete thing. Athletes, you know, you have to rip them off the field. You have to rip them off the court. You have to rip them off the mound. You have to rip them off the field in baseball and any other sport out there. I disagree. I think players they'll stay out there if you let them stay out there.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why
absolutely.
Kevin Stefanski.
We see this right now with Ben Roethlisberger. He ain't going to quit. Yeah. Because he's like, I can do it. I mean, we seen Kobe Bryant tear his Achilles and say, no, I'm shooting the free throws.
And then walk off.
Yeah, we've seen this. And I mean, you know, I know Baker Mayfield made a post today on IG or whatever, talking about, you know, if you know me, you know my past, you know, basically being a walk-on, a 2-time walk-on. And, you know, nobody gave him scholarship offers coming out of high school and everything like that. And he became the first overall pick in the NFL draft. He's not going to quit. He's not going to be like, yeah, coach, sit me down. That's why you're right. Like if a dude is banged up and he's not helping the team, it's up to the coaches to say, hey, man, look, we got to sit you down and get you right so we can have you for the long haul. The players are going to play, especially football players. Like, they love this stuff, dude. They love to get hit. Like, they want to get hit. Like, they headbutt each other. Dudes go out there without helmets and headbutt each other.
Coaches do that mess too. Sometimes.
Yeah, like they're crazy. Sense. So like the people talking about like, man, he should just be man enough to tell them that he's hurt and he's gonna sit down. It ain't gonna happen.
No, that doesn't happen.
It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So it's up to the medical staff and the coaching staff to say, look, man, we got to sit you down to get you right. And then once you're right, you'll be back out there.
Yeah, and sometimes, too, you know, it comes down to, he's so tough playing through the injury. Well, sometimes you don't need to be tough in this situation because rather than toughing it out for one game and costing you the whole season, that ain't worth it. But 518-1410, how are we, you know, is Kevin Stefanski handling this correctly? Is Stefanski to blame or is Baker to blame? 518-1410, let's go to Dave. Dave, how are you, sir? Dave, you there? All right, we'll go on to Steve. Steve, you're up, sir. How are you? Steve, you there?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good. Sorry, we're fumbling the calls around there for a second. So, but we got Steve on. So, Steve, what do you got for me, for Cleveland Browns related when it comes to this Baker Mayfield mess?
Well, I think that he'll. I mean, who do they play this week?
The Chargers.
Oh, yeah, you guys might be in a little trouble if you have to sit them. I mean, if you got to put Keenum in, you might be in a little trouble because I'm a Cowboys fan, and we went toe-to-toe with them and barely beat them, and that was due to a lot of their mistakes. So,
well, it's just one of those where, and by the way, I mean, Case Keenum, I think that the Browns have the best backup quarterback situation in football, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, I know. We had Dalton last year, and we probably had the best backup quarterback last year. I mean, it was when Dak went out. I mean, you know, I thought maybe, but he only won us like maybe 4 games, if that. But
No, I'm with you, but like when it comes to the Cleveland Browns, like I'm a big Cleveland Browns fan. I love Baker Mayfield.
I like the Browns.
100% Baker still has limitations. So if you have anything less than 100% Baker, now you're lessening, his production on this team. And the Browns need full production for that run game to work, for that, for everything to work, all as one. So I just think that rather than force an 80% Baker Mayfield out on the field, I'd rather have 100% Case Keenum. It gives them the best chance at winning.
Yeah, of course. But when's the last time Keenum started the game?
When is the last time Keenum started, Kev?
Was it that NFC Championship game?
With Stefanski?
It wasn't a Minnesota Miracle, was it?
Was it? It couldn't have been. He had to play the season after that, right? Let me Google remember.
It. But either way, it's going to, like I said, I don't think Keenum should start against the Chargers, but if we don't see Keenum at any point throughout that Chargers game, if Baker picks up where he left off against Minnesota, it's clearly the shoulder, it's clearly the injury. I can't blame Baker for that. That becomes the head coach's problem as far as that's concerned.
Well, you guys do have one of the greatest lines in football, but if he ain't 100%, and the Chargers do have that great defense too. So. Oh
yeah, and by the way, Joey Bosa, he remembers that the flag that was planted in the Block O at the shoe years and years ago. So if Bosa has a shot,
there you go. Yeah,
he's going to go for that shoulder. I promise you.
Okay, so here's
do have another. Go ahead. Kev.
Oh no, that was the update on Case Keenum. So in 2017, that was the year he played for Minnesota. He started 14 to 15 games, led him to the NFC Championship game. Then in the offseason, that's when they signed Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback. So Case Keenum went to Denver for a season. And then after that, he went to the Washington football team. And then he signed with the
I forgot all about that. Right. I forgot all about that. But anyways, I do have another question. Do you guys have any kind of idea how they determined the 9 home games versus the 8 road games this year? Because they added that 17th game.
Oh yeah, so they so the AFC. Hold on, let me pull this up to make sure I'm getting this correct. So for this year, I don't know how they determine what conference the other conference gets matched up with, but the AFC North obviously got paired with the NFC West. So the Browns had the Cardinals on their schedule, and the Bengals have the Niners on their schedule. So not everyone will play everyone from that conference, but that's how it was explained when they announced that the 17th game was going to be added. The 17th game that was added for the Browns was the Cardinals. The Niners was for the Bengals. I'm not sure who the Cowboys' 17th game was that they added.
No, but I just want to make sure. Is it like all NFC teams are playing
NFC West
9 road games?
So the AFC North,
and then the AFC gets 9 home games.
I guess I would have to look more into that. I don't have that answer off the top of my head
because I can't be like there's like different NFC teams that get 9 home games and then some NFC teams get 8 home games. You know what I mean?
I need to look at like next year's schedule.
Are they going to flip flop that? Like this year, the NFC gets 8 home games, and next year they get 9 home games.
Yeah, like will they have the return game? Will the Cardinals play at Cleveland next year? And will the Bengals play at the Niners next year?
Oh no, just like I don't care who they play. They're probably not. I don't know if they're going to play that one team they added. What I'm trying to say is like. Is the NFC, the whole NFC playing 8 home games and 9 road games? Is the whole AFC playing 9 home games and 8 road games?
Don't have that answer for you. Sorry about that.
But if you could find that out, I would appreciate it because I've tried to Google it and I can't figure it out either.
Well, hopefully our Google machine works better. We'll find out. But hey, thank you for the call, man. We appreciate it, Dave.
Hey, I appreciate it too, man. Have a good one.
Was that Dave or Steve?
That was Steve.
Okay. Well, by the way, that voice sounded familiar. Remember Jerry? Jerry the Raiders fan. We haven't heard from Jerry the Raiders fan in a while.
I figured he would have been calling, man. They were playing some good football. I know they just lost on Monday night, but I mean, they're still...
Chirp, chirp, chirp. Jerry loved to chirp. He was a Raiders fan. There you go. Who we got up next, Kev?
We got Alan.
Alan, you're up, sir. How are you?
Hey, first-time caller here.
Appreciate it.
I'm just saying, I think Kevin Stefanski needs to take a look at what Ryan Day did at Ohio State. C.J. Stroud was hurt. He was missing throws. He rested him 1 week. And look what he's doing now. He had a bunch of throws last week. He looked great. I know it's hard to do that against a team like the Chargers. Sit your guy, but I think at the end of the day, that's the best option for the Browns. I think it's what they got to do.
Well, Alan, I kind of agree. And again, Ryan Day, that decision was, and you just brought up the point that the Browns have the Chargers. Ryan Day it was easy for him to make the decision when you have Akron on there. So no, but you did point that out with the toughness of the Chargers being the next game up. I don't think that the Browns should bench Baker Mayfield. All I'm saying is that if Baker Mayfield picks up where he left off against Minnesota in the first quarter against the Chargers, Stefanski doesn't have a lot of time to decide whether he lets him play it out for the rest of that game or goes to Case Keenum. I'm with you. I'm not with you on regards to sitting him to let him rest. I think that you need to start him. If he's been practicing all week, he sees what he's doing in practice. But if Baker's limited in the early goings against the Chargers and he's getting hit and he's missing receivers again, I think at that point Stefanski needs to really go to Keenum and not let it go the full 4 quarters like what he did against Minnesota. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying. The tough situation would obviously be if Baker's struggling, but the defense is holding well. It's still a game. It seems like you could win the game. You know, in that division, you need every win you can get. Who knows what the Browns and Chargers could very well end up, looking at a tiebreaker for playoff seeding later where head-to-head could matter a ton. And so, I mean, it's obviously a tough decision for Stefanski. I guess I don't know if there's one right decision, but it just seems like Baker needs some time off at some point because he looked bad last week.
Yeah, he did. Hey, and Alan, we appreciate you calling, man. Call more, okay?
Yep, I will. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Go Browns.
Thanks.
Assuming he's a Browns fan. Go Browns.
I'm on a different side. I think that decision needs to be made early in the week because if the shoulder is bothering him and, the follow through and everything like that, and it's causing so much pain, why even put him through a week of practice? If you really want that shoulder to heal up, you take the whole week off, the entire week, not just the game. You take that whole week off. You do whatever the medical staff does to get a shoulder feeling better or whatever. You take that whole time off and then you just say, hey, man, you out this week. We're going to roll with Case. And then the following week when you're feeling better, you're the starter again. I don't think that causes any controversy. I think that's just if you go out there and you try to play and it's not doing well, and then you pull them, well, you warmed them up all week, you practiced all week, you warmed them up during the game, and now we're starting from 0.0 again. So I will go with it, just sit them down for the entire week and then reconvene the following week.
Well, that's why this worries me a bit because Stefanski's watching him practice all week. Is he practicing well all week? Then struggles in the game. And then all of a sudden the labrum's a problem on Sunday, but not a problem Monday through Friday. So the reason I'm going to put the pressure on Stefanski is if he's seeing even limitations in practice, don't wait for the game for those limitations to hurt them. I'd rather Case Keenum be getting starting reps all week at 100% than Baker at 75% or 80%. So yeah, I'm with you. You're right. It's not like you practice all week. Sunday morning, you make up your mind whether he starts or not. I think it needs to be, evaluating how he looks during the week. That was bad last week. It's not like he just had 1 or 2 overthrows. It was a lot, and a lot of those came with OBJ. But it wouldn't matter. Whoever was open right there, he was going to overthrow just based on how that went. But holy moly, man! That was bad. I wasn't even defending it. I was angry. I see this report though. Okay, so he's injured clearly, and if they're continuing to let him roll out there. I mean, my goodness, this is the only time I wish that David Bell was managing a situation because he would not be out there. They would be making sure he's 100% before he goes out there.
I guess this is a question more for KB. What happens in the NFL practice during the week? I'm sure it's not full go like it is in preseason camp and everything like that. Is it a walkthroughs or obviously I don't know. I never played in the NFL. So that's something I want to know. Also, what are these practices like in the NFL leading up to game day? Because I imagine it's not full pads and everything like that, right?
Not every day. But I've heard different things during the preseason when they always debate 3 games, 4 games. Do you need any preseason games? Should more starters play in more preseason games? They said, during the preseason, that's when you're getting your physical play in during the week. Because once the season starts, you're not going full pads. Now, again, I don't know. All the NFL rosters I've played on. I can't give you that expertise, but you're right. That's why, KB, the obvious one right there, that we'd have to ask that too. But nonetheless, that's going to be something to keep an eye on this week as the Browns and the Chargers go head to head. Also, keep in mind, I brought it up with one of the callers a little bit ago. You look at Joey Bosa, who's just tearing it up right now. He was on that Buckeye team when they lost to Oklahoma at the shoe when Baker planted the flag in the postgame. Now, Baker's one of those guys that everyone wants to get their hands on that's not on the Cleveland Browns because he's just a punchable guy. Like, he just has that punch me face, right? Like, so Bosa's going to be looking to get to him anyways, but the Chargers are going to get to the quarterback. The Chargers they made Patrick Mahomes' day hell. They made Dak's day hell. They've made every quarterback that they face. They've made their day a living hell. It's going to be a tough game for the offense. The problem is the Chargers, as good as they are defensively, as good as they are offensively, the Cleveland Browns defensive has been just as impressive. Like, this is going to be a big one on Sunday. Like, this is a potential AFC title preview. I know there's so many good teams. You could be saying that about the Bills, about the about the Chiefs, and so on and so on. But this is a legitimate heavyweight showdown between the Browns and the Chargers coming up on Sunday.
Game of the week.
Well, all right, let's take a look at some of these games and see. I would say so. I mean, in regards to big picture, implications, I know this isn't the college football playoffs where, it's not an elimination game. I mean, it's a big one tonight between the Rams and the Seahawks.
A lot of big games.
The Seahawks aren't a Super Bowl contender. So I'm going through this list right here. There's not a whole lot of big games this weekend.
Definitely tonight, Rams at Seattle.
49ers Cardinals is big. Bills Chiefs has to be the game of the weekend. It is, technically, by placement.
I think those are the biggest games of the week. You just rattled them off, for sure. And then obviously the Cleveland Chargers game as well. But that Niners Arizona Cardinals game is huge too. And that Kansas City, man, I know we got a little game that we're going to play tomorrow. They're definitely in it. They're definitely in it because if they go down 2-3, 2 wins, 3 losses, if they end up losing this game to Buffalo on Sunday,
well, and here's why it should be concerning for the Chiefs. And by the way, there's not a concern offensively, but they're 2-2, as you mentioned. The Browns could have easily beat. That's not a cocky thing, me saying that as a Browns fan. I'm just saying they could have easily lost to the Browns with the way that they played. The Browns are a top AFC team. The Chargers are a top AFC team. The Ravens are a top AFC team. But we thought that the Chiefs were the king of all of the top AFC teams. So they almost lost to the Browns in week 1. They lost to the Ravens in week 2. They lost to the Chargers in week 3. And now you have the Bills here in week 5. Of course, they got that 42-30 win. You let the Eagles of all teams put 30 points on them. If the Chiefs lose to the Bills and you narrowly escaped Cleveland at home for a win, you lost to the Ravens, you lost to the Chargers, and then you lose to the Bills, I think that at that point, Kansas City is no longer the king of the AFC at that point. I don't care that they were in the Super Bowl a year ago. We know what they could do offensively, but that defense is now a liability to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes' Kansas City Chiefs. But what a test for Kansas City. They didn't get any favors, man. That's pretty insane. To have the Browns, the Ravens, the Chargers, and the Bills for the first 5 weeks of the season, they're going at them. They can't lose. If they lose to the Bills, along with losing to the Ravens and Chargers already, those are the teams that should be looking up at you, and those are all really good teams. And now you've lost to all of them and almost lost to Cleveland. That's a problem.
This is great for my fantasy football team that their defense is horrible because I have Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill got me 50 points last week because he had 11 catches, 180 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, hey, Chiefs, don't fix the defense. Keep it the same.
Holy moly. Let's go 518-1410. Let's go to Jim. Is this Jim?
Yeah, what's up, Justin?
How are you? You're on with Kenner and Kev. What do you got for us today?
All right, I'm not a Browns fan either, so don't hate me. But I got to save you from yourself, man. You can't call Baker Mayfield a top 10 quarterback. The dude's got 2 touchdown passes this year. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm almost wanting, because the Browns got a good team. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm almost wanting to see if Case Keenum can play better.
Now, come on. Now, don't be silly here. Now, if you've been listening for the last 20 minutes or so, we've talked about the reason that what we believe the struggles are stemming from is from the injury that he faced early on in the season. Like, he hasn't been himself since week 2 when he got that injury. He threw it all over the field against Kansas City. He threw it all over the field in the back half of last season. Baker Mayfield, we know what he's capable of doing. That's not the concern now. It's the concern is he's not doing that, and it's because of that injury.
But if you look last year, there were several games where he had like 100 and something yards throwing.
Yeah, remember they were on the first half. The final 8 games of the season into the playoffs, only 2 quarterbacks had more passing yards and more touchdowns and a higher QBR. That was Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. I'd say that's 2 good quarterbacks to sit behind.
But tell me a top 10 quarterback anywhere that throws for 100 and something yards more than once in a season or has 2 touchdowns 4 games in. He's not a top 10 quarterback.
Tell me a quarterback that could throw for 300 and 3 touchdowns with the torn labrum.
Probably half of them. I don't know.
Really? Oh, come on, Jim.
Dude, it's not his throwing shoulder. Come on. I can go out there and throw 2 touchdowns with that Browns offense.
Really? With the torn left labrum, even if the labrum is his opposite,
I mean,
it's not his throwing shoulder.
I'm obviously being sarcastic, but I mean, he's not a top 10 quarterback. The Browns have a good team. I will give you that. They have a great team. Baker's actually holding them back. They need a better quarterback.
Injured, Baker's holding him back. I agree with you. Injured, but that's why I said it's on Kevin Stefanski to get him out of there. When he's healthy, look at what he did last year.
So, anyways, I love the show. I'm a Bengals fan. Don't hate me. Go Bengals. Hooray! See ya.
All right. There you go, Jim. There you go. See, you Bengals fans, you guys are biased. You just hate on the Browns. Have I ever done that to your team? All right, folks, have a great night. That wraps it up for us. The show flew by as usual. Time flies when you're having fun, of course. But, yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow, Friday. How about that? Our Glacier Softwater high school football game of the week tomorrow. Keith Byers and I, we will be live at Welcome Stadium.
Hey!
Welcome Stadium, Dayton Dunbar, the Wolverines welcoming in the Trotwood Rams. And we're super pumped about that matchup. Tomorrow night, our Glacier Softwater high school football game of the week. The Dunbar Wolverines welcoming in the Trotwood Rams. Keith Byers and I will be on the call at 7 p.m. That's when kickoff is, of course, but make sure you hang out with us from 3 to 6. We'll preview all the big Week 5 NFL matchups, big college football matchups as well. We'll take your calls at 518-1410, plus more opportunities to win $1,000 because I make so much money in radio. It's the Kinner Cash contest. I'm just giving away my own money. So give us a call tomorrow, and, of course, we'll get you all hooked up with that. 518-1410. Talk to you tomorrow on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Shout out to our sponsors, Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Have a good night.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
KTH is now offering a $3,000 sign-on bonus for a limited time and has immediate openings for second